Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars New Canon Book Club. Today,
or today, is it Star Wars? Is it canon? Does it even friggin' matter?
from a certain point of view, it does.
Book club.
Today, we are covering, from a certain point of view, the book originally titled Operation Blue Milk.
Awful. Even worse.
More like Operation, if you're a real fan, Blue Balls.
At least, you know what?
Because it's gonna leave you wanting a good story.
Keep your droids close and your balls.
Blue.
Full disclosure, though, real quick. If the fucking book was called Operation Blue Milk, I would have been like, meow. I would have went like right around it. Swerve. Never would have got involved. Never would have paid the $15 to read it. I would have been like, I see what type of book
I'm
this
in
is.
for more than 15 at this point.
Yeah.
More time and money has been spent on this one book. So this is, for people who don't know, this is 40 short stories compiled into an anthology for the 40th anniversary of Episode 4.
Yeah.
And it is...
I feel like before we jump in and rip it apart.
Right, I just want to talk about what it is.
Yeah.
It features some amazing authors.
Some of the biggest names on our show.
Oh, yeah,
and
for
just
sure.
in nerd culture.
It features some, if you listen to the audio version, some amazing actors, some of our favorite audiobook readers.
John Hamm
is Boba Fett in this.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much going on, and you'd think, with all of this star power, that you'd walk away like, you know what? I don't really care that it wasn't it was sort of non-canon-y and kind of weird and quirky and fun.
Because it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is just to remind everyone, if you're wondering, why'd you guys take a year off? What was it that made you take a year off?
It's the last story in this book.
It
Let's
is
just
this
say this was
book.
the straw that broke the Bantha's back.
Woo!
That joke is on par with most of the stories in this friggin' book.
It is rough. It like gives you glimmers of hope too, which I think is the problem.
And as we know from Bane in Dark Knight Rises, you can't have despair without hope.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
A wise, whatever the fuck Bane is.
What if I had to?
Sewer monster?
Two of us at least, Jesse and I have gone through this twice. There's like 5%. There's actually some good stuff in here. There's a couple of these stories that I really
Did you reverse? So I know that Alex, you read it.
I read it.
And I did read first, audiobook second. I audiobooked it back and forth to the office.
Dude, I listened to a little bit of the audiobook in the car with Davis. Honestly, you should never fucking listen to those audiobooks. I don't care how fun it is. Listening to that Cluehorn caper story in audio form, like, I loved that story, and I was like,
here's the thing.
I played it for him intentionally because I always I recently have been advocating audiobooks because they're normally very
fantastic.
good.
Especially Star Wars ones are amazing.
They put in the music, they put in the sound effects, they get Mark Thompson for most of them.
Mark Thompson is my hero. I love him. He's great.
Yeah.
But this one are stories that most of them should not have been read aloud. Because it actually, some that I loved reading, it takes away from dramatically when they're...
I wouldn't say I loved reading any of these, but yes, the written version much better and much more like up to you than like 15 voices.
Yes. There's some that I was like, oh, this is much worse when I hear it.
Mouse droid, we'll get there.
Yeah.
All of the authors have foregone being compensated for their writing. The book's proceeds are being donated to First Book, a nonprofit organization that provides books and other educational material to teachers and children's organizations. Penguin Random House has also donated $100,000 to First Book, and Lucasfilm donated 100,000 children's books valued at $1 million as well. So
this was a charity thing.
Like, buy this book if you want to support a charity. Don't buy it because it's great.
I had no context for this because the audiobook at least doesn't give you context. It just goes into it.
Right.
So I didn't know that this wasn't... I mean, I guess I should have guessed by the title that it wasn't hard canon, and then also that it was a charity book because I came out of this being like, everyone should be embarrassed. This is a shameful thing. And then once I heard that I'm like, okay, I've backed up a little bit on it, but I still don't think that the story
knowing that it's like a charity thing that everybody did for free, I'm like slightly less mad that like I'm just like that people weren't like cashing in a check for some of these stories. But apparently Adam Savage at one point was supposed to have a story in here and did not.
It was canceled, or removed.
He probably read the rest of it and was like, ooh,
whoa,
take my name off.
And then
plausible.
Also, I want to read a quote from Wikipedia that we talked about earlier. It says, although from a certain point of view forms part of the Star Wars canon, it presents several contradictions. And as such, Lucasfilm Story Group's Matt Martin confirmed that the contradictions present in the stories were intentional, as that was the sort of the project's nature. I don't buy it, to be honest.
This is the problem with this book, and I think we should never have another one of these ever again. The idea that Star Wars under Disney, they were like, everything we do is canonical. It's all connected. It's all going to fit in some way. And this is a book that came out with short stories that you can see, okay, I can see how some of this would be canonical. And then they're immediately contradicted. And their response was just like, well, yeah, that's the point. It's like, what? No!
Some of them contradict with each other. One story, even the Obi-Wan remembering what he says to Darth Vader, contradicts himself. In the beginning, he's like, I could become more powerful than you could ever imagine. And then later, he says more powerful than you could possibly imagine. Like
in the same
story. Doesn't even have the right quote.
So as such, I don't think we're going to go like balls deep into each one of these plot-wise.
Some of them are worth it.
Some of them are worth the talk. But
many of them are just, here's what happened. It was the exact same story, but told from a different point of view.
Literally, I have my like weird angry notes that I wrote 1 year ago in my hands. You guys both are pretty fresh. I know Jesse has some notes.
I printed out everything.
It looks like you typed them on the first typewriter ever made.
I did type these out on my old Rito typewriter.
Hanks. Yeah, borrowed from Tom Hanks.
I actually this time around was like trying to be an adult, and so I got a notebook and I was taking notes. But I got to the third story before I was like, if this book doesn't even put in the work of trying, then why the hell should I?
First story
on mine. The title of the story, the author, and who it's about, if we are down to like...
Yeah, I got you. I got you. So the first one is...
Ramus.
Ramus.
And it's Gary Whitta. And I was like, okay. I mean, this guy got them writing chops. We like his story in the past.
Yep. Gary Whitta was one of the best ones. What did he write? He wrote...
Rogue One.
Rogue One, the movie.
So Ramus Antilles is who this one's about. And it literally is just the point of view of the captain...
Who gets choked out.
Who gets choked out by Darth Vader.
Oh, we should also say that this entire story book, this book of stories, it bookends the entirety of the A New Hope movie, and it is told in sequence of the movie from a certain point of view, James.
Right.
And so
you know what that means though? That it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
like
it means they.
And so going off of Rogue One into this, we get the captain of the Tantive. He literally is just like running around trying to keep his crew alive. But most of it, what it is I kind of enjoyed this only as a technical aspect.
Okay.
Because in the story, it explains some things that I don't think needed explaining, but I was fine with it. Like, it was like, okay, well, how could they get away at the end of Rogue One and then be immediately tracked down by the Empire?
Yeah.
Because he's like, once you're in hyperspace, they can't track you. You're gone.
Well.
And because the engine was all messed up and it was leaking, so they had a signature that Vader could follow.
Well, it was doubly, right? So the engine was leaking so they could follow it, and it fell out of hyperspace.
Too far away from the planet.
Like a little too far away from
this
Tatooine.
is like this is like addressing those things that I like never feel like they matter in stories. Like
right, but I was fine with
that's
it.
Like
I was
how
all right
I
with
kind of felt about Rogue One, where they're like, oh well, this movie plugs the gaping plot hole of the weakness in the Death Star, and I was like, I didn't know that was
the gaping plot hole.
But
I wrote for Ramus in my notes. I wrote pointless story about Captain Antilles moments before he gets choked by Vader. No idea why Rogue One and New Hope needed any more of a connector.
The thing about this
same.
is I was the exact same at the very end. I think a lot of these stories, up until the end, I'm like, all right, this is fine. And then they always do an end twist. And many of them, the twist is a character being like, he felt hope. And I'm like, F it. I can't do this.
Hope, if you will.
I can't. Like, so the end of this story.
Point of hope.
Keep your hope close.
and your blue balls closer. The end of the story, as he's being choked out by Vader, literally he's just like, but Leia got off. And I had hope. And then it dies. And you're just like, shut up. Before that, he's writing a letter to his family. He's like, oh, I can't finish this letter because the stormtroopers have come in. They do
things to these characters that make each of them into a soap opera character in ways where I'm like, like this next story, as a matter of fact, is like a perfect example of that. This one is called The Bucket.
Yes, this is Christy Golden, and it's about a stormtrooper named Tarvin Lareka.
Yep. This one, I wrote, sometimes people forget there's a person under the stormtrooper armor, but no one gives a shit that one who stunned Leia on the Tantive thinks she's actually kind of cool.
So, yeah, this story's crazy in that it's literally just about the scene when the one stormtrooper comes in and Leia blasts him, and then the other one stuns her. And this is a story based on those guys. And so it's about a stormtrooper, and it's like captain who thinks he's hot shit, and he's not afraid of Leia, and then he gets blasted and killed. and he stuns her, and then he literally is just like,
Damn.
she's so hot.
Yeah.
I can't believe this beautiful girl. And then she looks at him, and he's like, damn, she wants to kill me. I guess it's because under these masks, she doesn't know that we're real
doesn't
people.
realize it's
so he
me.
pulls off his mask, and she just like nods at him. And it's like, what?
She's like, guess I don't hate you anymore, bitch.
And then I think he's like at the end, like, I got to get out of this, or because
He's like, I gotta join that rebellion or
Oh,
whatever.
no,
it
he
starts
says-
with him being like, I'm part of Vader's fist. Like,
Yeah, no, he says he doesn't want to be there. He wishes he could be on Tatooine or like go to a different place. Like, doesn't want to be part of this detachment
There
anymore.
are several stories exactly like this. By
yeah,
the way.
he requests transfer to active duty for somewhere else.
Yeah,
you
he
know?
just like doesn't want to be there. There's another story later on about like a stormtrooper, and Vader's thing is like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like,
Fuck this
They all
shit.
actually. There's 2 stories about stormtroopers encountering Leia and then quitting
yeah.
being a stormtrooper.
No
because of
doubt.
it.
Yeah.
The next story, the Sith of Data work.
So this is the first like title where I was like, uh-oh. This is Arvira.
Yeah, Arvira and Ken Liu made this.
Yeah, this is written by Ken Liu.
This entire story is meant to plug the, I guess, a hole of when the escape pod jettisons that the droids are in, and they're like, there's no life forms detective, so let's not shoot it down. Much funnier in Family Guy in the Blue Milk episode where they're like, what are we playing by the laser now?
Right.
But instead they're like, oh, let me try and write a story about.
But that's almost what this is. The reason they don't shoot, the justification is the bureaucracy of like, well, you know, if you're trying to get up in the ranks, the more lasers you fire, your accuracy rating.
If you fire it, they're gonna look into why you fired it, and if it's if it's wrong,
Like if you miss, you're wasting laser
No,
juice.
they're saying
it's
that
roughly
they're
that.
saying that they created a new like system, and it's based on the amount of kills you get. And if you fire a laser and it's not a kill, you know,
And droids,
like the unforgiving YouTube algorithm, it works against you.
yeah.
and droids don't count as kills either.
Right.
So he's like, even if there were those droids in there, then like that wouldn't count. And so literally, it's just about this logistics officer Avira who just is the person who knows all the paperwork. And so I thought this was cute, but completely unnecessary.
So my problem is there's a couple different ways these stories go. Either like good stories, really poor stories, or like stories that don't matter. Some of them, like Ramus, are sort of written in universe. They feel real.
Sure.
None of the characters in this feel like they belong in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Right.
The main character is this like super sarcastic.
It's like Big Bang Theory Wars.
This seemed
Yeah,
like
it's
a
like-
Saturday Night Live sketch.
What it is a lot of the characters in these stories are written like they're characters on Sex and the City. Like they're all just like catty, sarcastic.
There's a
making
lot of
fun the
sassy
universe.
Imperials. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, it doesn't. At no point do I feel like this is even close to what could have really happened in this story.
I think if they would have come at this from a different point of view, like where they were just like, it's 40 short stories, it's for fun, it's for charity,
Yeah.
we're doing it, it's all right. But when you go into it, you're
Read
like,
'em.
oh, this is gonna be, it's about
Read
the
'em,
characters
bitch.
that are around the side, like this will be fun. No,
Read
it is
through
like,
the book, bitch, before you say that dumb shit.
Oh,
I wrote 1 year ago, this is starting to feel like shitty Robot Chicken. I hate when canon stuff comments on the fandom, and the first-person perspective gets really annoying when the narrator messes up mid-sentence, like when they said puppets, I mean students. Yuck.
That's like a trope. I don't think any human has ever actually done
Written
that.
something and
like
been
in
like Monty Python when it's like, ah!
yeah.
Yeah.
the next story is called Stories in the Sand. Griffin McElroy wrote this. It's about the Jawa.
You better
This-
not say anything bad about this story, because every person who's ever listened to Griffin McElroy on any sort of podcast is going to come down on us. In
Here's
those
the thing.
reviews.
Who's Griffin McElroy? This is my favorite story of this book.
I was
This one
about-
like
I was about to
surprised
say,
me.
like, this story is utterly pointless and has a flaw that I'm like, that's stupid. But I enjoyed it.
was
Like, I
chill.
actually liked this story.
It was cute. It was chill. It was like a Pixar movie.
It kind of like
That's what it was
It
exactly
started
like.
off. I mean, it's like quirky and fun. I like that it sort of dived into. This is what I was kind of hoping. It dives into a little bit of the Jawa culture. It explains like their robes and like that kind of
It
stuff.
actually
how it works.
explains to the layperson what a sandcrawler does.
Yeah, like that from that aspect of it. I was like, oh, cool. This is good info. I like this.
Right.
And it was quirky because it was a Jawa who like learned about stories from a hollow.
'Cause he doesn't
projector.
go anywhere, so he looks at the droids' hollow recorders and like witnesses their lives. And so the whole point is he keeps taking these things and playing it.
And learning. Yeah.
Yeah, and he learns about the
basically
world.
is like a small. He's the runt of the Jawa litter, and he finds a place in the sandcrawler that only he can fit in. That is his like stash, his like treasure place. And so he goes there,
He's like
finds
Belle.
hollow recordings, and like gets a self-identity.
He's like Belle from Beauty and the Beast.
But then he also, because his job is to delete and make sure that all the droids are like,
Fresh.
yeah, and every single one has like the droid when it ends, like its life ends, except for R2. And he's like, and this is the part where I was like, oh boy, when he's like, he's in a factory and he's flying around, and I was like, oh, because I hate that stuff.
It like
Only.
flashed back to all of his
Everything he did. Yeah.
Didn't they wipe his memory? At the
No,
end of it?
only 3PO.
You'll find some great more references to R2D2.
Can I tell you
in
guys
just 1
something
minute.
crazy, by the way? Speaking of R2,
Yeah.
just tangent. Today an article came out, I think it's on Nerdist.
Okay.
They have a thing where they go through all of the press stuff that's been said about how 3PO and R2 are going to have a huge role in this last movie.
Mhm.
And they're like, I think, basically, I think George Lucas said that after everything's over, 100 years after the trilogies is when R2D2 tells the story of the trilogies to the Wills. And so I think they're like, these two are going to be huge in this movie because they're going to like save the day at the end.
If that happens, that would be wild.
That's what I'm
And then
saying.
it just cuts to the future, and it's like 3PO closing up there and back again.
Right.
The Star Wars store, and he's like, "I've left some pages for you, R2."
And then
then he
R2's
goes-
like, what about that ring? And then C-3PO turns into like a fucking demon for 1 second.
But this one was cute. I like that he at the end was like, you know what, I'm gonna get out of here and I'm gonna go do something with my life. I was like,
This
that's
first
nice.
He
time-
basically like gets off right before they destroy that.
literally
Sandcrawler.
right before. Yeah.
1 year ago, Alex was kind to this story. He said the most interesting.
Wait, do you have 1 year ago's for every story?
every story?
Oh my god, I love this.
The most interesting so far because it doesn't really touch the plot all that much. Just a chill little story about a Jawa who dreams of something more. At this point, I was not bored of every single person in this entire story
Can I-
having the same like mental arc as Luke, but it happens, so get ready.
Can I tell you, that's the vibe I feel for this entire thing. When it's a story that doesn't relate to the main story of the movie. When it's just like something that took place
Always better.
at a thing, and they were just intersected, and or like, and then Luke came by, and I realized I should change my
What a
life.
hot kid. Weird
Yeah.
hair though.
Yeah, the next story similarly does that, and I thought it was cool too.
Yeah, the next story is
Rayrin.
it's by Sabah Tahir. I
Yep.
think that's. I'm sorry if I'm butchering names. It's a female Tusken Raider who wants to get out of the desert, wants to get off the planet, is tired of this crap, and she is told that there is a stone inside the Jawa Sandcrawler, and this is like right before it goes down and all these Jawas are killed. She gets inside, she sneaks in, and the stone is like a crystal, and it's talking to her, and she feels crap, and it's very much just a kyber crystal.
Right.
And she's like, I'm not going to deliver this. I'm going to keep this and find another way off the planet. And so I was like, yo, is that a Jedi Tusken Raider?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a cool thing. There's a little bit of contradiction. This is where some of the contradictions start in
Sure.
the book, where it's like only male sand people can wield the Gadurfi. They're like little sticks. And then later in another story, they're like all old enough to stand wield the
Right.
Gadurfi.
Yeah, it was a fine story. Whatever. I said
It's a curious. It's a kyber crystal, but like, why is it in the Sandcrawler? Who got it? What does it mean?
I'll be real. I would rather have more stories about the Tusken Raiders or Jawas than 4 or 5 stories about the Cantina.
the Tusken Raiders used to be real cool in EU back in the day.
Yeah, they used to actually have a story.
1 year ago for this one, I wrote just a whatever story about a pretty racist sand person sneaking onto a sand crawler and stealing a crystal. Maybe a kyber. Every character in this book so badly wants to get off this rock. It's weird.
Yeah. The next story was the hardest one for me.
I'm
Y'all,
so
I can't-
overjoyed that we're all like pretty much in the exact, like we're saying
the
the, same
next
things I
story
wrote a year
broke
ago.
my heart more than you could possibly know. Here's the thing: when I read it, it was all right, not great. Hearing R2D2 have a voice
Oh, this one.
is
Oh,
so
the red one.
Oh,
Good Lord.
So the next story is called The Red One. Ray Carson wrote this. It's about R5D4. If you're wondering who could that possibly be, you know the droid that Luke originally buys and then like
Well, Owen.
explode.
It's got a bad
Owen.
motivator.
Yeah.
Uncle
and then,
Owen.
and then the back explodes, and then that's how they get R2. This is that story. It's about that droid. And the plot of this is literally R5 just wants to be adopted so very badly. He just wants someone to take care of him.
He's been on the Sandcrawler for like 4 years or something like that.
Just
No
wants to be
one's
dipped
bought
in
him.
oil and just have a bath. And he knows what's coming up. He hears them talking about he's looking for an astromech droid. This is his time. And then that night, R2 and 3PO show up. And R2 straight up tries to sabotage this droid. And then the droid's like, what are you doing? And R2, in the audiobook, his voice is just like, I really need to get off of here I'm on a mission for the rebellion. And you're just like, fuck! It is unbearable.
R5-D4 is like, I got you, bro. I'm with the rebellion too. Peace.
No, not in the beginning.
Yeah, at first he's like, get out of here. This is my time. You'll be the next time. And then over the course of the story, he's like, maybe I'm meant for something more too. Guys, I just want you to know that in the book, in the actual text, you know how in audiobooks they have to like
emote,
act,
yeah.
right? So in the text, it talks about how when he's rolling away and he's following Owen and Luke and 3PO, he tries to get all of his fluids up and like all the oils, whatever, up into his
Get it rolling.
motivator, and then like he's gonna explode it. But the way it does in the audiobook is like, he used all of his strength, and with one film, and you're just like, I can't do this.
Like a children's book at a library. Like
Oh, it's bad. The thing is not the voice actor they use is one that we love for many things, but it's just like the moment that they're reading is a droid blowing his ass out.
makes you feel like
Mark
a
Thompson
little kid.
is the greatest weapon in Star Wars audiobook, but when it's turned against you, it also is the most devastating.
Yeah, it's
and
heartbreaking.
They misused him
Big
in
time.
painful
It's
ways.
so
time.
rough.
But yeah, so that they're gonna take him away, and then the red one has a change of heart, and then decides
blows
he has
himself
to
up.
blow himself up, so that they'll take.
And
the
then
blue
here's
one
the
instead.
crazy thing. End of the story, all the Jawas murdered by stormtroopers, and he rolls away free, and he knows where another farm is because he's been on that route so much. So he's going to go live his life now.
For free. He's gonna give himself up for free to just be a thing.
He made it.
Insane. That's how the story
I'm gonna
ends.
be honest. At the beginning of the story, when he's talking about hot oil, I was like, "Oh, this is kind of fun," and I already guessed who he was, so I'm like, "This will be a fun thing." But then once R2 got involved and they started speaking,
God.
and then by the end, I was like,
What?
"Hard out, hard out."
It's like, I can't. Later on, as we get towards the end, some of these stories, I can't imagine what the pitch was for
Yeah.
the story.
But
I don't think there was.
in a vacuum. I guess I get it, especially since it's like, "Hey, whoever wrote this one, Ray Carson." You're like, just do it fun. It's for charity. He's probably like,
for
"I got
fun."
a funny one."
Yeah.
Sure.
And it's like fine, but then all together, you're like,
Ugh.
"Oh my god."
Like,
It's
it,
just
build,
not
it builds
the
it, like,
optics,
pummels
the
you.
optics on it is just not good if you like also read the other stuff from Star Wars. 1 year ago, Alex wrote, retcon of R5-D4 into a rebel droid with a memory wipe already who malfunctioned
Oh,
on
that's right. At the
Yeah.
beginning, he's like, I think I was meant for something more.
with a memory wipe already who malfunctioned on purpose to help R2. Would have been cool, but R2 says, help me, R5-D4. You're my only
right.
hope,
Yeah.
so everyone can get fucked. That's what I wrote.
Yeah, agreed. 1,000%.
Oh yeah, they do that a lot through this. People quote the movies again.
The next one is called Rights. John Jackson Miller. It's about a Koba and a group of Tusken Raiders. It starts with some young Tusken Raiders who are out sort of getting their right to manhood, I believe.
Yeah, they kill a baby crate dragon, and
Yes.
that's their like right of.
And then
manhood.
their chieftain comes over and is like, you guys think you're hot shit? You are not. That was a baby. You are nobodies. Stop acting so proud. And it eventually leads to them being the ones who go off and find and knock out Luke Skywalker and get scared away by Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
And that's like what the story is.
yeah, they're like this young hot kid who's like, I want to fight everything. They have whatever the other guy whose name is similar, Ayark. Akoba is the main character. Ayark is the leader.
Sure.
He's
same
like
tribe.
missing an eye, but he's old, and it's weird because usually the leaders are young and whatever. And he's like, you don't know anything.
It's like
You're
there's
young.
a shaman
There's a
out
wizard.
there.
There's
Yeah.
some shit, and then the guy's like, "That's bullshit. I'm gonna go with my boys, the twins that are idiots apparently,
Yeah.
and we're gonna go get them." And then, yep,
Yeah, they knock out
Obi-Wan
Luke.
shows up, scares him off, and then
Yeah, he's like, it was a fully grown crate dragon. So I guess we now know what a crate dragon sounds like because whatever noise Obi-Wan makes in the movies.
It's a gibbon.
and then yeah, in the end, he just vows to return, but in greater numbers this time.
Yeah.
just to really tie into that line.
And
from
the chief
from
is
the
just
movie.
like, oof, boys.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is.
I really didn't care about this story that much. 1 year ago, I wrote, cute story about Obi-Wan as a boogeyman to the Tuskens who jumped Luke. Totally whatever story, cool look at Tusken/crate dragon culture.
Yeah, I mean, a
all
lot
I
of these
got.
stories
crate
have
dragon
that.
culture. I don't know that we really got a lot of crate dragon culture.
Tusken cross crate dragon, what's
We
going
learned
on?
about like
Just that,
mama
like-
crates and
Yeah, it's cute because they're clearly scared to death of the crate dragon, but because they have a weird like warrior pride culture, they have to kill their babies to be like to feel-
Badasses,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like a It is like a weird, but like that's the Tusken Raider culture is to raid.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
well, I mean, they even say like a real Krayt Dragon would murder them.
Yeah.
So like they have to fight the babies.
They were
'cause the
serious
real ones are
they
insane.
business back in the
It's
day
just-
too.
It's
Yeah.
just like they act so tough about it too. They're like, yeah, I killed a baby.
Yeah, hell yeah, I killed a baby, dude.
The next story I actually enjoyed. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie, I love this story.
Yeah.
The next story is called Master and Apprentice. It's by Claudia Gray.
Who I
and it's-
believe also wrote a book now that is called Master and Apprentice, right?
Yeah, is that the Obi-Wan younger Anakin book?
She literally.
Or no, is it
It's
Qui-Gon?
it's a
Qui-
prequel.
I think it's the
It's the prequel book with Obi-Wan and
yeah.
Qui-Gon.
We were told to read that, and then the other one, the one with
Dooku.
yeah, the Count Dooku one. I guess those two go together. So people told us to read those.
love this one. I love this story.
Yeah, this story was really, really good. This is the kind of stuff that
and
we
there's
needed
another one
more
later
of.
that's like this that I also
Yeah,
It still doesn't really add that much,
But it does-
It's
but that's
done.
like-
It's taken seriously and it's done well.
and it's a short story that if this was sort of like if every short story was like this, or for example like the Jawa story or like something like that, where it was just in world or in universe, but wasn't like, and then that character that said that one line died.
Yeah, I
Right?
also love that nothing happens in it. It's just
Yes.
like a chat.
And so
That's why I love it, because you have the Jawa stories where they're like fun nonsense characters, or this one is just a cool character look that
Absolutely.
is completely respectful of how characters act and talk and
Right.
and also how the Force should work.
Yeah,
like it's
basically just they're burning the bodies on Tatooine, and Qui-Gon shows up and he's like, weird, huh?
yeah,
And that's basically the
Obi-Wan's
story.
like terrified for Luke, and Qui-Gon's like, my dude, chill out.
Yeah.
I have seen everything that's about to happen. Leia is like coming. He's like, Obi-Wan feels like he's a shadow of his former self, and Qui-Gon's like, my dude, any old Jedi can fight, but you have patience and fortitude, and barely anyone can master that. That makes you awesome.
Yeah.
And he's just like really pumps up Kenobi, and Kenobi's like, I can't wait to experience my whole life, and he's like,
and I think this is a story. They have a good moment where they talk about like potential guilt over Anakin, and I think Obi-Wan's like, I don't carry that. He had all of the tools to
fucked
be a
up.
good person.
Yeah.
He was the one that made all the bad choices. I like that. I'm like, they don't really address that in the original trilogy because they hadn't really fleshed out
Sure.
the story. But here he's like, dude, that's on him. He was surrounded by love and whatever, and that's on him.
Yeah, and then at the end, Qui-Gon basically hints like how you become one with the Force, and he's like, yo, give yourself over to it completely. And the basic thing is just to find your inner peace and be calm, which I think was a cool little nod also to Luke at the end of Last Jedi, where it's like, as a character arc, he had like, okay, I've been through some shit.
It has to do with like the guilt thing and like
yeah, and letting go.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan did the same thing. He let go of all of his garbage, and then like, whoosh, I'm gone, Darth. And I like that was neat. I thought the whole story
And
was good.
that echoes, even though I don't think they intentionally did it because I don't think they talked at all, but
Right.
in Obi-Wan's later story, in Yoda's later story,
Sure.
they bring up the like letting go of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was great. I thought it was great.
1 year ago, Qui-Gon's ghost visits old Obi-Wan to talk about destiny while the droids burn the bodies. Weird timing on this moment, but kind of cool how serious the author took it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then
Then we get
yes,
another one.
one of my favorite stories in the book, you guys. This one might be my least favorite. I'm not sure. I was more just like, am I on acid right now? Like, what the fuck am I
So
reading?
the next story, I think, less than it being what it was about, the way it was told. It was called Beru, White Sun Lars. Meg Cabot wrote it, and it's literally Aunt Beru. And
It's like Beru if you met her in Heaven's coffee shop,
and she's
she
like,
just like
oh,
wanted
let me tell you
she just
about
wanted
my
to
life.
spin you a yarn. And
This one-
what do you know? What do you know about Beru from the movie?
Nothing.
That
She's
Blue Milk.
soft-spoken.
She's tangentially related to Blue Milk, and then she wants Owen to be nicer to Luke, and that's all this goddamn story is about.
But
Yeah.
but
it
then
beats
they
you over the head with Blue
and
Milk.
one more like key aspect of her relationship with that delicious nectar. I'm just gonna
she
read.
wanted
my,
to open a Blue Milk shop.
Yeah, I want to
But
read.
guys,
I want
she
to read
wanted
my.
to-
she
my
could
opened a cafe.
have had her own career. She could have been
She
a Blue
didn't-
Milk
she-
cheese.
She didn't want to marry.
Connoisseur.
She didn't want to marry this man, but she did it anyway.
I'm gonna just read mine because it just tells you everything that happens in the story, and we can just move on from this. High school drama audition monologue by Beru Lars that quotes her lines from the movie, talks about blue milk cheese a lot, and seems to be narrated from the afterlife. Unnecessary. Is this book even canon?
That's the question I had upon initially reading. I
Who
was
got
like,
who was there to hear this? Who like witnessed this story? Who is she talking
the
to?
crazy. That's what I'm saying. Is if it is canon, is she in the Force?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it canonical there's an afterlife?
All of us in the Force.
Oh my goodness.
This next story, I have no idea what it's about because of what I wrote. I'm just going to read it, and then you can maybe help me make sense of it.
Should we say what the story is before you?
It's called The Luckless Rodian by Renee Adia. And
It's Greedo. It's Greedo.
and it's about Greedo. I wrote, Han shot first, but did he also fuck a Rodian?
So yeah, what I wrote down for this one, because for people who are curious, what's the story about? It literally is Greedo's POV of him going after Han Solo. And the reasoning he's there originally, like, he's there also because Jabba has a bounty on him.
Right.
But the reason he's there originally is Han banged the chick he was into. And he cannot let it go.
A lot
They
of questions.
kind of like drop that out of nowhere, and you have to like, if you're
There's
listening to the audio,
wait a minute, like what?
wait, you have to scrub back. You're like, oh,
Yes.
okay, all right, I guess you guys both went for the same lady.
Yeah, and Greedo is just pissed about that, and so he wants to kill Han, but also now there's a bounty. He's like extra excited to do it, and then at the very end, Han shoots first, and there is straight up again going back to.
I'm just gonna die on this hill. It's not Han shot first because it implies there was other shooting. Han is the only shooter. Han shot and then it ended, and there's no more.
In the original movie, yes.
So
But since then, reality has changed.
No.
The Ewoks blink, and Han Solo moved to the side like a South Park character to avoid a shot from Greedo.
That does not count. That's not canon.
It's canon. I've
It's
got it on my
not
Blu-ray disc. We can
canon.
go look.
So there's a quote about
Oh
that.
my god, it hurts.
There's a quote about that for this book that literally is just like, well, from Greedo's point of view,
A certain
Han,
point of
Jedi
view.
are evil. Yeah.
yeah, Han did shoot first, and so that's what happened. And it's just like,
If that was true, why would he fucking shoot his gun at Han Solo? He was like, whoa, I dodged it. Bam. Oh, now I'm dead.
so there you go.
Idiot.
That's part of the story. It's all right. It's just like a weird revelation that Greedo's mad that Han stole his girl.
I'm glad that's all I took from that story.
Yeah, that's really it.
I mean, sure, there's that, but it's also just like you have to listen to like a shitty. I don't know what you ever thought. Like, I don't know what you thought Greedo's like
Inner monologue.
monologue was, but it's not good. It's just
and
like
it's done
a shitball.
just like the voice he was like, okay, Solo.
In the
You're
book?
like, oh.
I'm never
Yeah.
reading I'm never listening to an audiobook unless I have to, ever.
So the next one is called Not for
It's
Nothing.
don't let this story off.
Mur Lafferty, and it's a story about the band.
Figure and Dan and the Modal Nodes.
Yeah, it's a story about the band. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like this story, guys. I kind of like this story.
It wasn't shitty.
It was
funny.
It was presented as the memoirs, so it's literally an after-the-fact retelling of why this band was on Tatooine, about how their band leader got them caught up with Jabba, and like they owed him money, so they had to go to the palace to play. But then they were stuck on the damn planet, so they had to like work in the cantina to make
They're
money.
the fucking band from Earthbound.
Yeah,
that you just
yeah.
have to like keep finding millions of dollars for them to like survive.
Yeah, and it was just how they were stuck there for a year, and they couldn't get off the planet, and it's them. I thought the interaction between all the different band members, it was just like a crappy
was
band
realistic.
that they all want to break up.
Well, and they're like they hate Dan, but like he's
so good.
so good at music that they're
Right.
like, all right, we'll stick with him. And it's weird because they make it sound like they are galaxy-wide famous people, but
yeah.
they can't. How much does a ticket on a shuttle cost?
Dude,
that
YouTuber
like
your life, dude.
does nobody have a bank account? Because there's another story with a snoot guy later who's also massively wealthy but can't get the fuck off the planet. I'm confused about what it costs to get off a planet.
And so the whole story is them just playing during the cantina scene and their interactions with Wooer, the
bartender.
actual like bartender, and then you find out that Greedo has he has it out for these guys, and
The Modal Nodes.
yeah, he does not like the modal nodes and their jizz playing.
That's the
Not
best
a
jizz
fan.
players in the biz.
Yeah.
In the
best
biz.
jizz in the biz.
Best jizz in the jizz biz.
Hottest jizz
Can
in
we?
the biz.
All right, Can we make a shirt
Merch.
a merch
Hottest jizz in the
hottest
biz.
jizz in the
Hottest
biz?
jizz in the jizz biz.
Just has the modal
Fergan
nodes.
band.
It says hottest jizz in the biz. That is a shirt idea. if I ever heard of one.
1 year ago, I wrote Modal Nodes behind the music. The fact that they just played at Jabba's before Mos Eisley adds nothing, but it's funny that through it all, they stayed together because they believed in Figure and Dan. Why is everyone connected to Greedo?
Yes, yeah. So
But this also this is like another one where like this is right before Greedo gets fucking shot and doesn't really match
but
up
it
with-
matters. It matters to their. This is interesting. You're right in that it doesn't match to Greedo's story right before, because in their version, Greedo gets like punked around, like knocked over, and people treat Greedo like shit, and they're like happy about it. And one of the things that they want to do, at least the author of this story in the memoir, is like, I was going to report Han and these kids with the droids. I was going to report all of them to the Empire, but then Han killed Greedo and got him off our back, so I didn't. And that is what most of the stories about the Cantina are. We were going to report them,
And then we
but
didn't.
then like Han or a Jedi showed up or whatever, and then we were like, yo, cool. All right, we're not going to report. That's every one of these stories.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Yeah. Speaking of, here's another story called "We Don't Serve Their Kind Here" about
Chuck
Wooher.
Wendig.
Yeah, Wooher the bartender by our man, the man with the
Oh,
plan.
I think this another fun inconsistency in these books. Besides,
Is why he hates droids.
In one of them, they call them fingering Don, and the other one's fingering Dan. In this one, in the last one, they're like, there's no droids allowed, and I was like, what a smart idea. Is because they simply take up bar space. They will never drink. Or,
They don't drink.
or buy
Yeah.
food, so they take up space. And I'm like,
and they
what?
like could have weapons and like
Yeah, you're like, wow, cool. What a good
makes
reason to
perfect
not,
sense,
to not
yeah.
have droids in the bar. And then this story gives us a much darker.
Yeah, so this is literally the POV of Wooer. It is about his life. It's him waking up, going to the day shift at the cantina. And the thing he says that he's pissed off immediately about is like, the droid detector isn't working. And over the course of this entire story, you realize why he hates droids is because his parents were killed by droids in the Clone Wars. And he has never forgiven them.
It's true.
Ever.
It's a personal choice by Wooher the bartender only.
And can we just say that's a canonical thing?
Yep.
Like, that's just, if you like Wikipedia that's the canonical version of the story.
Yep.
And so he just is like, I don't want droids in here. The thing breaks. The kids come in, right? Or the kids, that young
They're
Obi-Wan.
kids. They're fucking kids.
Yeah, the
Let's be
kids
fucking
come
real.
in. And this is just, it all plays out. He's going to report them just like everyone else. He's going to report them. But then he sees Obi-Wan as a Jedi. And
like, oh,
Obi-Wan
shit.
solves the problem of like the crazy killer in his bar. And he's like, you know what? Jedi saved me way back when.
Jedis are good.
Yeah, Jedi are good people. And I just wrote down a note, and I think it goes across all of the stories. But what is that guy's name? The one guy who is like he has a cigarette in his mouth, and he is wearing all white in the movie, and he looks kind of like
That like fucking like foppish man in the
Yes.
in the booth.
the way they describe him in this story and in many of the other stories is he is like a badass. Even in the audio version, the voice they give him is like
Everybody likes him.
kind of like a sassy. You know who he reminds me of?
He has the voice of Sinjir.
That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah,
Sinjir. And I was like, this is great. I love the fact that they give him the credit of being like a smart, badass bounty hunter who also looks out for everyone in the bar. He's
Well,
like,
and yeah, because it's the next story, the Cluehorn story, where he's like more there, and he's like everybody's buddy, and they're all down in his luck, and he's like, "Listen, if this plays out differently, I'll pay for all your debts. Don't worry about it. Like,
Yeah.
I'll get you guys."
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting that they make him that guy who's always there, who you think like, oh, he's up to no good, but he's like the
It's
nicest
like Nathan
dude.
Drake. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible.
1 year ago, I wrote Portrait of the Bartender Wooher from Mos Eisley, basically just a character piece, except for the fact that we now know he hates droids because he has PTSD. Not bad, but the language was a little extra. And then I have a quote. It was bad news in an already crummy day, like a hocked up glob of spit on top of a poodoo sundae.
This is, I think, we need to have Chuck Wendig on the show because this I think is his thing. Chuck Wendig is like he will throw
Here's the
out
thing,
like
though.
the calf. or
Shit
the,
Sunday is a real thing, and when people say it, I don't like wince.
Right, but
inside,
like Chuck does
Poodoo
that
Sunday
thing where
is
he's like, but that's like Chuck's like he constantly will be like,
I follow this man on
they
Twitter.
drank some hot calf that night. And I'm like, he like is in it,
He's leaning into it.
but
yeah.
it is 2,000% not on him. It is the world they've set
He
up.
also knows that it sounds dumb. That's why he's writing words like globa next to it to make a word like poodoo land a little softer on the ears.
Grabba voodoo. So that's that story. It was all right.
This next one is my favorite story in the book.
All right. So this is the story that I tried to hit on at the beginning. Reading this story, this
So
is a
much better.
phenomenal read story. Listening to it in the audio version,
You're Thelma.
was a struggle.
I'm Louise. We grab hands. We drive off.
it was a struggle. The audio version is a struggle. Here's the thing: the overall story not too terrible in audio, but the first 5 minutes are literally just from the point of view of the little bat girl, and it's straight up just like it's
Mark Thompson.
unreal.
He went all in on this one, and
It's unreal.
and
Mark
it's-
Thompson.
The primary goal of a book on tape should be to transfer the words into your ears without having to look at them. Not like some weird
It
like
is.
Okay, I did this. I have.
No, it wasn't like that. Is not. It was like it was like a screech. And so this story, oh
I
my
can't.
god.
I literally just can't
but
make
it's-
my voice do
But
it.
it's like you know how like if you have the same pain just repeated, eventually you get numb. Unfortunately, they kept mixing it up because there's 3 characters. There's
Right.
the bat lady who goes. Then they have the guy that's like the
Well, there's
spider
actually
dude
4
who's like
characters.
who's like no, but the 3 really bad voices.
Right.
And he talks like so there's
Muff
that
talk?
voice, and then there's the final guy who's like, and then I talk like this.
Is that the
And-
muff talk?
Yeah, the move tack, and then you're just so they keep switching it up, and you can never sink in because you just keep getting really offensive voices.
Unless,
But it's
you
Matt. It's
just-
written by Matt Fraction and his wife. Like
Yeah.
it's a good story. But
Unless you just read it. And
Yeah,
then
here's the thing.
You don't have to.
I tried. Like
So-
I kind of liked it more the second time because I was a little better at it. But the first time, yeah, I was like,
It's rough.
I hate
It's
it.
like Pulp Fiction. It's great. It's a
the
great little
actual story is very, very well done. So for those people wondering, it is
It's even
about
like beautiful by the end. It's like a poetic little
yes.
It almost feels like a Tarantino short.
But the
Yeah.
ending is like if Tarantino ever made a happy ending. Like you know.
Nobody- yeah,
instead of
an
it always
unviolent-
falling apart, it's like it all falls into place.
Yes.
It's like an episode of like The Sopranos or something. Like somebody just dies and they're all just like, oh shit, okay, great. See
Yeah.
ya.
But so the
It's
story,
like 2 anvils fall on the bad guys, and they're like,
yeah, woo.
I mean, okay.
the story's about I think it's Kabe, who's the little
Yeah.
bat lady. There's
Kabe.
Muftak, who is the like white furred straw nosed dude.
A character who I loved reading about, and once I heard his voice, I wanted to hit myself in the face with a door.
Mio, who's the one-eyed mutton chop guy, and Daspur, who is the like he kind of looks like you would imagine a normal alien, except he's like painted black.
You've seen this guy. He literally looks like a Star Trek alien.
Yeah,
He looks like he has the same face of Ivan Ooze, but he's not.
Yes,
He's not
Yes,
purple.
yes.
Yeah, he's a
Same
Sakian.
chin.
And so the whole point of this is that Kabe, I think, or Cabe, I don't know.
I'm gonna
It's
go. With,
Kabe.
I'm gonna
It's
go with
Kabe.
Cabe because
Well, it was Kabe in the audiobook.
you know what? Fuck that audiobook. How
So
about
Kabe and Muftak are living in like the underground
The
basement
sewers or whatever.
of And so the person
Wild.
who owns the cantina is like letting them have this place.
It's a Wookiee.
And they basically need to pay rent, and they don't have any money. But Kabe's like, I got 45 credits, and he's like, where'd you get 45 credits? And he's like, I stole a glue horn from you while you were sleeping, and you're just like, oh my god. So the whole thing is all these characters trying to get back this clue horn because it's actually
Blue horn
worth-
is an instrument.
the
you
clue
couldn't
horn
guess.
literally looks like a bassoon.
Yeah.
It's the bassoon that the band is playing. This is one of the other aliens at the bar who wasn't in the band, but looks like one of them who was at the bar. This is his clue horn. It is from his family. It
belonged to a
priceless.
famous-
It's like
Clue
the
harness that
wasp.
no one
It's like
knows.
the watch that he kept in his ass, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is literally an invaluable thing.
Yeah.
And
Also,
all of
if
these
you
people are
didn't
trying
know,
to get it.
apparently it's good luck for pawn shops to have a clue horn in the window.
Right. Because
There's a little bit of lore that you need to know.
And by the way, I was talking about Christopher Walken in the movie Pulp
Yeah,
Fiction.
Pulp Fiction,
That's
yeah.
the ass. That's the watch.
So this story was just like some of the other stories we talked about being great. The scene in the cantina was the end and was totally like it didn't matter to the story. It was just where they all ended up at the very, very end.
Yeah.
And everything about the story was this caper they were on to get this thing. They got in trouble with Jabba. They got in trouble with like Imperials out there, all this cool stuff. And it all wraps up with that scene at the end where it's just like the dude sits down and is like, all
They're
right.
literally all sitting in a circle, like in the
In
bar.
the movie. Yeah. It's cool. And so it's just like them sitting there watching this go down, and they're just like taking bets because the doctor's there, and they're like, this guy is a crazy killer. He's gonna get
all
on.
three,
fuck is
the
this?
3 main people all needed the clue horn for some other reason.
Right.
Somebody stole it from somebody who's owed it by somebody. And then, yeah, like one person was the guy that gets the meds for Dr. Evazan to help him deal with the
Right.
pain.
And he's like, I'll
But-
kill you.
But like that was also tied into Han because a bunch of the people had stuff that Han was bringing when he dropped it.
Right.
And so like they were all screwed.
Yeah, it was about Han's dropping Jabba's shipment,
Yeah.
and that screwed them all over. And so, like, yeah, at the very, very end, the whole point is just like the dude sits down and is just, hey, if what happens here is like good for us, I'll take care of your stuff. I'll pay for you.
Yeah.
And it was great. And at the end, it does. And he literally pays everyone's debts. And then straight up at the end, they're like, and they became best friends. That's like how it ends,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah,
It was tight.
because I think Greedo is somehow tied in this
Yeah,
one.
like, everyone
he gets killed,
dies.
and Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan die, and all their
All their
problems
go away. Yeah, it was
and
great.
they don't do like they actually no matter all. That's what's funny is they actually don't do anything to save. They're so busy with
They
their
just
own
like
bullshit.
look and they're like,
They get saved.
shit. Yeah.
They're just like the team that's always
like a Guy
one
Ritchie.
every day they have a new scheme to like pay the things.
And
this
then
is one of their days.
they're like, then like that pimp ass bounty hunter's just like, well, it looks like everything worked out okay. And you're
Yeah.
like, wait, did he have anything to do with this?
Yeah.
What was he doing behind the scenes? And he's like, here, take your money. You're like, wait, why is this? And then it's like, and they all became friends. And I was like,
What's that movie
this
with
is the best story?
What's that movie with Jason Statham and Brad Pitt?
Jason Statham,
they
Brad
were in a
Pitt.
movie together.
Yes, it's you're gonna be like, oh, it's this movie. It's the one where Brad Pitt's like, I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Oh, where he was like,
Oh, Snatch.
Yeah, Snatch.
Yes.
It's like
You're right.
Snatch, but Star Wars Snatch.
That's yeah.
Don't take that title or use
Yeah.
it for any reason. 1 year ago, I wrote
Snatch in space, hottest jizz in the biz.
The Cluehorn Cantina Caper by Kelly Sue DeConnick and Matt Fraction. This was a well-told, silly, and ultimately beautiful little story about how criminals look out for each other. I forgave all the Back to the Future shit because it wasn't in the main draw of the story. Best one so far. Very fun, romantic, melodramatic style.
It is. It's a fake out Back to the Future too because you're like, do they have a hand? Oh, it's completely.
Yeah, no, they
irrelevant.
don't do
yeah,
shit.
completely
Yeah.
it doesn't
irrelevant.
matter at all. I loved that about this story. I thought that was
Yeah.
great.
Was Rogue One not out then? At this point,
no,
was.
Rogue One was up. This literally is
technically
after
Dr.
Rogue
Ev is
One.
on and Bada Baba. We know we're actually on
Jeddah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wrote down some. I think we covered this, but I wrote down. I said note about all of the previous stories. Greedo is always doing something different in each story that annoys me. Also, Woora's reasons for not having droids constantly changes. I just whatever. So those were the notes I wrote down. I was just over it. I was like, all right, that's where we're at.
Next story is Added Muscle by Paul Dini, who is like one of the best writers who writes stories like this.
And this was a Boba Fett story. And if you listen to the audiobook, it was John Hamm.
Yeah, Paul Dini
This was
worked on
confusing because
Batman the Animated Series.
because
so many
based on the
things.
Greedo story, they weren't using the extended edition scenes.
They
But this is a
100%
scene.
this is it.
from this is the Jabba.
This is like the human Jabba scene.
Yeah,
that was
where he's
cut.
like, Jabba, you're one of the
another like South Park
best
Han
people I
Solo
know,
scene.
whatever the line is. Yeah.
Yeah, you're Jabba, and he like.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. It's just like they're talking. Like it's just another one of those ones like the Baru one where it's just like Boba Fett talking.
Yeah, basically the whole thing is he was about to leave Tatooine, and then he hears Vader's looking for 2 droids, and he gets caught up with Jabba going to go see Han and his ship, and he's like, man, I'm gonna get Han one day, and I'm gonna get these damn droids. And that's like kind of it. It was just like a cool, I'm Boba Fett and a badass.
Fett. Yeah, he's like staring down Chewie, and he like flashes some of his Wookiee. Like,
Yeah, and he's like, I'm gonna
totem-
get
or,
your
like,
pelt
his little-
too.
And he's like, yo, someone you know, maybe a family member, huh? Yeah, come at me.
Literally at the end, he's just like, I'm gonna kill Solo, I'm gonna get that pelt. Like that's how it ends.
I would love. I mean, we're gonna get it with Pedro Pascal and the Mandalorian, but I'm like, man, John Hamm is like a seasoned Mandalorian.
Would be great.
That'd be.
Would be great.
I would watch John Hamm do some shit in Star Wars. After watching Baby Driver, I believe he's capable of doing anything.
Absolutely.
I
That's
wrote
the best thing. Everyone putting him in stuff as like, look, it's John Hamm in our thing. That's funny. Just shows that he has unlimited range.
he's so good. Added Muscle by Paul Dini 1 year ago. I wrote just a sort of water treading character monologue study thing for Boba Fett. Expected more from Paul Dini. Felt like he was definitely writing the old version of Fett, except for a weird forced birthing pod joke.
Oh yeah.
They were like,
He
by
killed
my, like my
rebels.
mama used to say, and by mama I mean my birthing pod, and you're like, oh.
And he's like, 1, 2, 3, no disintegrations.
Oh yeah, they explained that he like
Yeah, he killed 2
he
rebels on
disin-
Coruscant
because they had
yeah.
like some sort of like disruptor weapon that vaporized them, and, so
And
that,
Vader was
that-
like, I wanted them alive, bro. Yeah.
Also unbelievable that Jabba and Fett hang out and drink. Very weird situation.
yeah, that was a he said that in when everyone's gone to sleep, Jabba like invites
Fett.
Jabba invites Fett over and like opens up the good stuff. And they drink and talk for hours, and he's like,
just
I don't
don't
know
buy
what
that.
the fuck Jabba says. I don't speak his language. He's like, literally, he just goes off, and he's like, he's probably talking about like love, like deals gone sour, friends and loves lost, and he's like, I don't understand a word, but the drink is good.
Again, I will campaign
Which
about
like,
this.
it's kind of that's a kind of sweet ending to a bad situation of you imagining.
Sure.
I don't want it at all. It's the best possible scenario, I guess. I want to just bring into everyone's mind one more time. I'll bang this drum till the end of time that at one point in time, Guillermo del Toro was trying to get Disney to say yes to him directing a Hutt Godfather.
That would be ludicrous.
That could have gone so wrong.
That'd
but
be
it was so
so
right.
ludicrous.
It would have been great no matter what.
Purely doesn't make a bad movie. So.
Purely from the visuals, it would have been worth it. Purely because I want to see that dude with the fucking perm.
the guy from Clone Wars.
The one with the like fucking mustache on his fucking puta. All right.
Oh, Jabba, you cad.
All right. This next one is called "You Owe Me a Ride." It's by Zoraida Cordova.
Yeah, it's the Tonica sisters.
Yeah, Tonica.
Tonica, that's exactly how you say it.
I have no idea what this one's
It
about.
literally. So this is the story about the two.
This is a story that ultimately is about nothing.
Yeah, it's a story about the two girls with the dreads in the bar. And essentially what happens is they're sisters, they're stuck on the
Oh,
planet.
this is the one where they're like, we're gonna kill Han, and then they're like, no, we're gonna steal his shit.
Yeah, what happens is they're like, we need to get off the planet. Jabba has a big bounty. They go to Jabba's palace. They see all the other bounty hunters there. And Jabba says, go get Han Solo. And they're like, but we like Han Solo. So they decide instead of killing him, they're just going to take his ship.
Because they just want to get off
Yeah.
Tatooine. That's their
So
only...
many of them just want to get off this rock.
And so they go to get the Falcon. But that's when Jabba and all that stuff's going down. And then stormtroopers show up. And then everyone in town runs over to see the action. So they realize if everyone's there, no one's guarding the other ships. They just steal someone else's ship. And that's the
And
story.
they peace out.
Yeah, they just like keep going to events and almost do something until
They finally get a
there's-
free ship.
Yeah.
The end.
I wrote flatbread and beans. The idea that Tatooine has famously beautiful sunsets undermines the famous scene. Two sisters who pick up the Han job from Jabba decide to try and steal the Falcon instead. Apparently they have a history with Han and Lando, but then they end up in the damn cantina again, and Jabba being at the docking bay undermines their plan to leave, and they just have to leave.
Yeah. The next story is called The Secrets of Long Snoot. Delilah S. Dawson, who has written Star Wars books before. It is about Gardandan Ez Zavor, who literally is just the guy with the long...
Goggalor.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
The dude with the long snoot.
Was like,
I 2,000% found this an unnecessary story.
Definitely unnecessary, but I didn't hate it. I like the
well,
character.
I think that they...
This is another voice acting choice. So mileage will vary if you listen to the audiobook because it's all I'm a long snoot and
See,
the
that's
people
what,
don't listen
that's
to
what
me.
I'm fucking saying. That cannot be. Like, never in my mind am I reading any book, in any setting, and in my own like brain, I'm thinking like,
I am the long snoot. No one understands me.
It's like the most nasally Alan Rickman ever.
I'm turning into
Bill Clay.
we're both just turning into the monarch from Venture Brothers.
I'm the monarch.
But as a person that's listened to like 20 of these now, this is the only one where I was like, yikes. So 19 good ones and 19 good ones and one bad audiobook says that audiobooks are pretty good.
I'm just saying it's possible that maybe hearing the choices that are made by the person reading the audiobook, who again had nothing to do with the writing of the book,
But it
could
also has to
change
do,
your perception
But
of the
also has to do
story.
with the fact that they are most of the actors they got, who like Mark Thompson, and
for sure.
they know canonically who these characters are, and so they kind of have an idea of what the voice would sound like.
Don't
and
go
that's
for
the
it, Gus.
that's the problem. It's like, oh, I'm trying to do what the alien is. It's like maybe in a story that is all from the perspective of this alien,
We don't need to hear that
We
shit.
don't need to hear him talk like this. And so the problem that I have with this story, I had an issue with in that I like this character as a mystery. I like that there's like a weird alien who is ratting out Han and the boys. I love how he's just like, right? And he's like reporting to stormtroopers. In this story, let me just sum up what this is about. Literally, it is a story about this one alien who is from this planet that is under Imperial control, and his wife has been killed. He's trying to get home, so he's buying and selling secrets and spying on people to get off world. And then his whole plan is to expose the secrets of the Empire to his home world by helping the Empire.
He's like Thrawn.
I just like, boy, did I not need any of this for this character. I
Right.
was
Yeah,
unimpressed.
well, he's like the little like shady guy that points them to the shuttle bay
Yeah.
in the movie.
That's
Did you know that he actually was secretly super wealthy and super intelligent, and he has some of the most famous kids on his home planet because that's what he does. And he got
That made me so
he got,
mad.
Which is you're like, what a weird thing. And he's like, just trying to get enough money to. It's another thing.
It
I'm
was
like,
super,
is there no
like-
credit card in space?
At least it
why
was-
are you so rich but you can't get home?
At
like,
least-
my mate was killed and I need to get back
At
to my
least
family.
it was
Like, oh.
inventive. At least it was inventive. But again, Delilah Dawson is the same person who wrote the Phasma book, which like I'm not gonna say it's like definitely her. She's a fine writer in like her prose is good, like whatever. Just her sci-fi brain is like it doesn't sync with mine. Like Phasma's people being like in a cave and they like eat crabs and they like suck your flesh through a needle and put it in other people to like make them better. I just like something about the way she's looking at sci-fi just doesn't scream Star Wars to me in a weird way, and it always weirds me out. Like I don't know what it is, but something about the way that she perceives the Star Wars universe. I'm not on the same level as her. I wish I could get there.
Yeah, it just
But
it felt
the
unnecessary.
idea of a like fundamentally good person who needs to save his family, needs to sell out good people
Yeah,
for
no,
it.
I'm
like,
with you.
Like Cat is like fine. It's then that fills in with the
He's like a
super
weird
rich, super smart.
butt man.
All, like you're like, what?
I
Why
think
is
I'm-
this a thing?
I think I'm over the fact that a lot of these stories, if they're bad people, they're all fundamentally good at heart. Like, why can't there just be like assholes? Why does everyone have to have like a character like this dude?
Oh
Literally
yeah,
is just
everybody is like largely redeemable in this.
every single one of these stories. There's not a person where you're like, you know what, that guy pretty evil.
Except everybody else in stories is a super douchebag, except the main character.
Yeah.
But all the main characters are good.
The only character that was the Mahdi stories, you're like, well, this guy's a dick. But even then, you're like, he's comically a dick.
Right.
Like, he's so, like, I wish there was more. We have one great Tarkin story, and that story is awesome.
Yep.
But other than that, it's like, all right, I guess it makes me so mad when they try to overcomplicate or redeem characters. You're like, just let that guy.
Or
I
give
guess,
them like
by that-
weird apprentices that are like young and plucky and are with them for most of their life, most of their career as a Jedi, and then you have to look at Darth Vader and think like snips.
I will say though that the last story, the girls, the sisters, that's like the best one because they don't try to make them. Everyone does something for a reason, and theirs is that they just want to get the hell out of there.
Right.
And so they'll do bad stuff, not the worst stuff, but some bad stuff to get off there. And you're like, cool. They're like the only like people that are like
It's
that.
more-
Everybody else
They
is
felt
like
real.
Is
I was
like
more
so
just
good
tired.
and nice.
I was more just tired of it by this point because literally everybody's like, I gotta get out of here.
And it was 5 stories about just the cantina scene.
Dude.
And you're just like, I get it.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people there.
1 year ago, I liked the character they gave us, but again, nothing happened other than Long Snoot going to the fucking cantina again. I hate how every single person in the galaxy knows Han Solo on sight. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Everybody knows every character from that was important in the movie.
And that's what's crazy about this is maybe it has to do with everyone who works with Jabba, or maybe it has to do with the fact that Han goes to this cantina often. But the fact that this is a universe,
Everyone.
a universe, and everyone's like, oh, that's Han Solo. That's crazy.
Wild. It's wild.
He could never get anything done. He's like an intergalactic celebrity.
This next one was my favorite bad story in the book. It's called Born in the Storm. It's by Daniel Jose Older.
This is my reverse.
Yeah.
So I mentioned before, this is about a stormtrooper named Sardis Ramson.
Yep.
And literally, this is one where I read it and I was like, all right. Listening to the audiobook, I loved the audiobook version of this one. Whoever the actor was that got to do this, I felt this dude. Like, because in the book, it's like sarcastic. And I was like, oh, this is he's kind of an asshole. And the way they did the audiobook is they actually made him feel like a real character, I thought. So
Yeah,
I like this one.
This is the one where he's in love with Dewbacks.
Basically,
This is the Dewback story.
No
mind
part
gets-
of this. No part of this even comes close to feeling like it's a real story. It feels like one of the Robot Chicken stories, and the voice
Absolutely.
actor sounds like he's doing Turk, the actor from
Yes.
Scrubs when
Donald
he does the story.
Faison.
When he's doing an impression of his stormtrooper,
Yeah.
where it's like completely not in universe, but like
That's
all
what-
about the Dewbacks.
that's what made me
I was
enjoy
like,
it.
yeah,
I guess if I
it's my favorite bad story.
if
Yeah.
I guess if I could reframe myself to like it, because I think it was a certain point upon re-listening to it where I just laughed at the absurdity of what
That's
I
what
was
I'm saying,
listening to.
like,
but the
it was
first time I was
wild,
like,
yeah.
what the fuck is this?
I think basically the idea is that like because of the mind trick that's done, and by the way, this is about the stormtrooper who gets mind tricked by Obi-Wan Kenobi when he's in
Right.
the fucking land speeder.
it's him and his captain.
Yeah, and after he gets mind tricked, he like loses his grip, and I think like the point is that he has like a bad trip, but on like Jedi-ness.
So if you read the story, he's sort of sassy. He goes to the cantina. He doesn't want to be there anymore.
he wants to
wishes-
just drink.
Yeah, he wants to just have fun. And so I think reading it, I was like, all right, I don't ever see a stormtrooper talking like that.
He's obsessed with Dewbacks. Here's a question.
He just wants to ride a Dewback.
I assume Dewbacks were local beasts, But it sounds like because this
The
is
Empire
his,
brought them there?
Yeah, because he's like, this is his first time at Tatooine, but he's like, he had been denied the previously being part of the Dewback.
Maybe it's like
contingency.
maybe it's like their horses for sand.
Maybe.
You know?
But it's like, do they have
Like
a,
camels,
do
because they have dew
like
in their
a
back.
zoo?
Oh.
Are they standard? Do you just have dewbacks on every Star Destroyer?
You know, sometimes
my
they
assumption
just-
was that even though the Empire doesn't really have a reach out there, they probably have an outpost of some kind.
Sometimes we find out that the Empire just goes to a planet, takes a monster they've never seen it before, and uses it to process trash on their most powerful space station. So we'll see.
That
But this story, I think the version where you have a character and an actor reading it, it makes the insanity
funny,
a little
yeah.
more palpable and like, okay, this is a funny story.
Basically, the dude
That's
got
what they're
high.
going for.
Basically, the dude got high on the Force and Joy rode a dewback.
Yeah, the one thing that I had a problem
And
with,
it's a police report.
yeah, the problem that I had was the fact that it was written as a police report. And so literally it's like, and I rode off into the desert. This is my last report, over and out. You're like, wait, time out. What?
Did you upload this to
Like,
the
how
internet?
did you?
oh yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's the one part I didn't like. I was like, wait, why? Just tell the story. You don't
he just
have to
like he
contextualize it.
went sand, or like desert
he went
insane.
native, yeah.
he like went rogue and just like
Colonel
bounced.
Kurtz,
There's absolutely no way that he lived past like 2 days in
days,
this.
yeah.
but he got his dewback.
1 year ago, I wrote, in quotes, "schlanging about," which is a phrase I use all the time. And then I wrote, halfway through this Stormtrooper mind trick police report, he turns into a teen beat writer from 2018. Cute story, wacky plot. The Stormtrooper actually says, "We went and got sizzles on some Jawa juice, my guy." Then he joyrides on a dewback and deserts into the desert. Weird ending, but at least something happened.
With a voice actor, that's a fun line.
We went and got sizzled on some Jawa juice,
when
my
you,
guy.
When you read it, it's not cool. You're just
Come
like,
on, my
this
man.
sucks. But when you like listen to it,
I was blown away that the dude said "my guy."
I
And
love
it's like
that.
Jesus and Miro. It's like they're like, "Oh wow, you're
okay. So, next story.
this."
My
Okay.
apologies to a friend.
Everybody, okay. I'm sure everybody's been waiting for this one because
My
I've
apologies
been
to my
hinting at
friend.
it. I want to say Will Wheaton, the man, is a kind guy from all I've heard. He's just a normal dude. Please don't tweet him about this. That's not what this is about. But the story is
You guys, here's the thing.
brutal.
I had no problem with this story until the very end.
That's exactly right.
This story is a fine story
Another
until
one of
the
these
end,
stories-
and you're just like, Wheaton.
It's like fine. One critique besides the end flip that's so dumb is that he goes off on like the backstory of how, because it's a recording of this father is making to his daughter that he's about to send away because
So-
he's part of the rebellion.
So, real quick, this guy in this story, his name is Ryland. He's the dude in the tower in episode 4. The guy in the tower
The
who
dude
like
with
is
the
watching
binoculars.
people.
Who just scans.
Yes, he's that guy.
So now you know.
But
Yeah,
so,
if you ever
so
wanna know.
he sends his daughter off to live with his aunts, with her aunts.
Another pair
somewhere.
of gay rebel ants.
Yeah, awesome. But then he goes off on this whole backstory about what happens to her mother, and then it's like, actually, you don't need to know this. Delete all of this. Like, in universe, he deletes like half
Like
the video.
he literally talks about like he basically says, you know, we lived on this planet and everything was fine. The Empire came and then our best friend betrayed us and killed your mom. We had to leave. He says something I actually liked where he was like, most people here in the rebellion are fighting because they lost someone they love or they lost
Yeah.
their home or they lost something. And he's like, we lost all three. Like
Yeah.
we lost everything. So you have to understand why I would send you away. Like it makes sense. And he's like,
which he's
"But that's
talking about-
really
Well,
violent.
what happened was
He's talking about from Yavin. He's like, I'm going to send you off the planet because it's about to get blown up by the Death Star,
Right,
but
it-
I'm going to stay here.
he well, and what happened was they were working at like engineers or some kind of thing, and they got a new. The Empire took over, and they're like, this company was being run by bad people, so now we own it, and you have to answer to us. And they were being really dickish about their newborn being there,
Right.
And so she says, at least according to the story, hey, don't be a bully. Okay, you're being a bully. Don't be a bully. So then the Empire guy calls
Ratted
her a
them out,
rebel
yeah.
and shoots her,
Yeah.
Right.
which is like
And
great,
so-
cool motivation, I guess.
And so what ends up happening is he ships her off, and where's she going?
They just casually at the end, he's just like, "You'll be safe on Alderaan."
And you're like,
No!
Here's the thing, I couldn't tell. I know that I guess the assumption is that she went to Alderaan and died, but based on when the story was written,
it's possible.
No. So they do a time jump.
They do,
He
but-
writes it and sends her off, and then 2 days later, it's like the Battle of Yavin. So
I guess you're
the
right.
implication is that she's dead.
If she made it.
Yeah.
Which, whatever. It doesn't matter. 1 year ago, another pair of lesbian rebel aunts. An unnecessarily sad ending takes this from being a cute little vignette to overly saccharine BS.
Right.
Sorry, Will. It's cool he named it.
I had to write sorry, Will.
It's cool he named it for overly attached girlfriend, though, which is a true fact about the story. He actually named Lena after Lena.
Why?
They're friends.
And then he killed her.
Yeah, they're buddies.
Yeah, and then he killed her. All right. So the next story, I actually thought was like a pretty interesting POV. It's called Fully Operational by Beth Revis. It's about General Tag is actually, yeah.
I feel like it just wasn't long enough.
I agree.
It was
agree.
like almost like an actual portrait of him, and then Vader shows up and he's like, oh, and that's it.
Yeah, so what it is
Is
it's
this one
literally...
read by Neil Patrick?
I think so. I don't
can't
know.
remember.
I don't
This
Yeah,
know.
one is
no, it
fully
is
operational
because
by
it
Beth
opens with
Revis.
a weapon was meant to be fired. Yep.
Yeah, so this one is General Tag is watching footage from Scarif. He's researching what happens on like with rebel attacks, and he's basically like, no one on this damn battle station understands the rebels are banding together. They're forming into stronger and more powerful groups. Like, we are screwed if we don't do
There's
something.
going to be an army soon.
Yeah, and he's like, I need to tell the command staff this. And he like looks at Krennic and he's like, man, Krennic was a genius and so passionate, but like a baby and overly emotional. He's like, I'd be like him if I wasn't like a good general. He's like, but I understand where Krennic comes from. And then he's like, oh man, I should put Bail Organa on the list of rebels. Like, he's straight up just cracking the code, seeing through the Matrix.
Yeah.
He's like, it's like he's seen the movies. And he
Is
knows
this the
what's
one
up.
where he acknowledges how important bureaucracy is?
Like, maybe that's the late. Well, no, because the only one, there's the Mahdi one, and then so this is the one where it might be.
No, it's not this one. But keep
Yeah.
going. Sorry.
But he like is going through this whole thing of just like, oh my god, the rebels are a real threat. And then Mahdi shows up and is like, yo, it's time for our conference meeting. And then he tells him like, yo, Admiral Mahdi, this station's vulnerable. If
We're
they
gonna get
band
bopped,
together,
yeah.
if they band together, they have the plans. Like, they could actually attack us. And Mahdi's just like, you dummy.
He's like, shut the. Oh, Vader's here.
Yeah, and then Vader shows up with Tarkin. The whole scene from the movie plays out, and then the rest of it is literally just General Tag watching Mahdi be strangled, and he's like, oh, damn. And he has a revelation I think is genius, which makes me love his character even more, where he's just like, the Death Star's not the greatest weapon. Vader's the greatest weapon we have. And that's like how the story ends. I was like, that was pretty solid.
Yeah.
It
And,
just
and
it
Neil
just
Patrick
need-
Harris did the voice of it. It was awesome.
just needed to be a little,
Substantive.
just longer, bigger, just
Well,
a little bit.
Most of the story was literally a reenactment of the scene.
yeah.
And you're just like, we've seen it. We know what happens there.
They do that a lot,
Yeah.
especially towards the Death Star run.
1 year ago, half of the Joint Chiefs meeting with Tag, Mahdi, and Tarkin. Barely a character of Tag before Vader shows up and the story ends.
Yeah.
But it was, it was fine.
Yeah, it gave us some backstory about why he says the one line where he's like, although not possible, whatever the line is, like, although it most likely won't happen, there is a small chance that, like, it explains that line he says, whatever that line is, where he, like, says the rebels may come, and then Mahdi's just like, you big bitch, it's not gonna happen.
Right.
Yeah. The it's fun that the two shortest stories are the ones that got celebrities to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the Boba Fett one is like, you blink and it's over.
2 minutes long. Next story, Incident Report by Mallory Ortberg.
I did not like this one, y'all. It's Admiral Mahdi writing an incident report.
This was just him being a dick,
of
basically.
him literally, like, I get it, it's character study of Admiral Mahdi, and it's him just being like, I'm mad that Vader choked me. It's not that I have a thing against Vader, but he choked me.
nothing,
and he
not
touched
that
me.
anything's wrong with that, but my personal safety.
The part that really, like, infuriated me because it felt grossly politically real, but it's nothing I want to see in Star Wars, is he was just like, look, I have nothing against, like, people may say that I talked about Vader's religion, but I have nothing against his religion. I run a system, and there are 300 separate religions in my system. I am not anti-religion. This whole thing, and I was just like,
But Mr. Kushner was a racist.
it felt like just grossly political, like, just, I imagine
It was a little too
there-
on the nose. It was a
I
little too on
imagine
the
there are
nose.
people like that in Star Wars, especially in the bureaucracy.
in
Like,
the Empire, it's everyone.
right, but like, it's nothing I ever wanted to read in the story where he's
At
just
the highest levels, Mahdi never talks like that. Mahdi's not like, I just want you to know I am very open of all religion. Mahdi's like one of the head guys. He's like, if you speak out, I will fucking
he's
kill
like
you.
Satan. Yeah,
he literally throws down with Vader and is like, no one cares about the Jedi, dummy. Like, that's his attitude,
Yeah.
and he gets choked out for it, and you damn well know that he probably has said, if he's willing to say that in public to Vader, You know he talks
Says
that
it all
behind
the
the scenes
time.
to everybody. So him being like, look, I have no problem with this, and this is for the official report.
Okay.
And it's just like, oh, he would be like, that bitch choked me out. Palpatine?
Kill him.
He choked me out, and I'm not okay.
Yeah. 1 year ago, butthurt Admiral Mahdi writes an incident report on Vader choking him. Tries to paint himself as religiously tolerant and a good man, and I'm like, really?
Yeah, it just seemed like a weird story to tell.
This next story, change of heart, Elizabeth Wine, literally the same story as before, just said at a different time.
Yeah, oh yeah. This is the story. It's about a random Imperial Stormtrooper who is part of Vader's elite squadron on the Death Star, and he talks about at the beginning just like, when you get assigned to this thing, this is like how you become like elite Stormtrooper. They give you the best posts. You want to be on Vader's squad. This thing is legit.
This is
but
good
when
shit,
you
yeah.
get there, you can't show emotion. You can't like in any kind of way flinch when he does crazy shit or hide your discomfort. Literally, you got to be a stone cold killer. And then it's him watching Leia be tortured, watching Alderaan explode, and at the end is just like, Leia went through all that shit and was the hardest person in this room. And like, I even know she, like, he could detect that she was lying
He's
about
like, whoa,
stuff.
she's lying and no one except for me knows it.
Right, and at the very end it's just like, yo, because I didn't rat Leia out, I think I'm a rebel now too. The end. And it's like, another story. Leia just is convincing stormtroopers left and
I
right.
swear to God, she has a magic power to convince people.
It's
to
the
join
Force.
rebellion.
She has the Force that like is like, you're a good guy now.
She like talks to Ezra and she's like, "No, Ezra, you're not sad. Just do it." And he's like, "Okay." Like, doesn't even make sense. Like, she doesn't even deal with his problem.
Yeah, it's a genuinely insane story, but like it was interesting to see a look from like one of the guys walking through the halls with Vader. But like, I don't know.
1 year ago, weird first-person story about a stormtrooper who witnesses the destruction of Alderaan with Leia, Vader, and Tarkin. He can tell Leia's lying, and he thinks it's so cool he decides to be a rebel. Too bad he dies in like one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of the people, a lot of
most
people
people
that have
die.
different thoughts are just gone.
Get bopped.
The next story was called Eclipse. Madeline Rue. It's about Brea Organa.
Brea Organa.
And
And
it
it says Brea.
And it literally Brea. And I never, you know what? Never once
Brea
did
and
Brea
Leia.
and Leia ever click for me, but now I know it.
Brea, Leia, and Bail.
It's Leia's mom's POV, and she's waiting for Bail to get home. And Bail arrives and is like, "I think our daughter's dead."
Straight up Superman vibes from this story. Big time.
Yeah, and
Like,
the whole
I got,
story
like,
is
the
literally
Jor-El vibes.
them just coming to terms with the fact that their daughter is probably dead, and then as they are trying to like keep the fight going,
Boom.
something happens with their communications, and then there's an eclipse of the sun, and then their planet is literally destroyed. And the only thing we get at the very, very end is like, Brea felt her daughter, and she knew it'd be all right, something, something, hope.
Yeah.
And then they all explode, and they violently die. It's just like, okay, all right.
This is one where I'm like, it was written in character. Like I have no problem.
Yeah, it just was
but
like
it's just
a mess
nothing.
story.
There's another story. I'm like, this didn't need to be told. We learned nothing about this, and
It might as well have been just like a really long description of the laser charging up and firing on the planet. Like we gained nothing
Yeah.
other than that we got sort of like a look at Alderaan. But I think you get a better look at it. Like who wrote this?
In
Madeline
the
Rue?
book about Leia, the actual Leia book,
Yeah.
when they talk about her as a kid growing up and stuff.
Yeah. I liked the flavor. It was finally like a different place and flavor than
Yes,
like the
than
rest
just
of the
being
stories.
sand and or the Death Star.
Yeah, but it still wasn't great.
Sure.
What did I write? Eclipse by Madeline Rue. Last Moments of Alderaan. Kind of Superman vibes. Great.
So the next story is one of my favorite ones on here. I thought
This
it was
is the
actually really
Tarkin
good.
one?
Verge of Greatness, Pablo Hidalgo. So I figure like he knows what he's doing. Tarkin and Krennic is what this story is about basically. And it's from the POV of Tarkin at the beginning. And the whole point is like Tarkin is on the Death Star. He's thinking about his rivalry with Krennic. And he's just like, man, he was a bricklayer who thought he could be a king. And then we see this meeting scene from the movie. And we flash later when Mahdi visits. And it's just like, Tarkin, we don't need the Emperor. With this station, we could blow up Coruscant. We could rule, dude. And Tarkin's like, calm down, my man. It's
Yeah.
okay. And then he goes and blows up Alderaan. And then we get a flashback at the very end of Krennic's last moments. And Krennic is like is watching the Death Star blow him up. And he's like, these idiots. I'm the only one who knows about the flaw in the battle station. I'm the only one who could have prevented it.
Fuck
and
'em.
Tarkin blew me up. And he's like, Tarkin's so effing dumb. Like, he is a politician who wanted to be an architect, and now he's literally killed everyone on the Death Star.
Yeah.
And he's like, I guess I got my revenge. The end.
Peace.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. This is like a well-written story.
I like Tarkin stories.
I actually, and I like Krennic a lot as a character.
Me too, actually.
This like Tarkin Krennic rivalry is not cool for Tarkin's character. Based on other stuff we've read, I don't believe that Tarkin would spend this much time being like, Krennic, I got you. Tarkin doesn't care. Krennic is like a nothing, and that's why at least in Rogue One, it's nice where he's like, okay, all right, little guy. But here it's like, having him like really think about Krennic a lot diminishes to me it makes Tarkin like petty in a way that Tarkin is above Krennic. That's how like he should be. And so this makes it a little bit weird, but it is a cool thing where Krennic's like, I'm an engineer, bitch. Like,
I don't know. Like it is something we've gotten from Tarkin before. Like, here's what I wrote.
When Tarkin went after that one dude for like years.
Yeah, the dude on the ship or whatever.
Yeah, he can be pretty petty.
What I wrote 1 year ago was a little profile on how even though Tarkin played Krennic understood better than Tarkin how fucked everything was after Scarif, and that Tarkin's focus on his own ambition would be his end. This would have been a good chapter and a full story, but it's largely whatever on its own.
Sure,
That's kind of how I felt about it. Like, it felt really like out of place in this book, actually.
Yeah,
It felt like it went too far away from the movie.
For me, like, was a fun get out of where we had been the rest of this book.
I always like reading about Tarkin. To me, he's like the poor man's Thrawn, and I'll take it for now until there's more Thrawn.
But he also is like a pure villain in the fact that like he is full of himself. Thrawn has a self-confidence because he plans ahead.
Yeah.
Tarkin is just, I'm going to win because I'm Tarkin.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes him fun as a villain, because you're like, oh man, what's he going to do now?
It's wild because my favorite is Krennic. Like, of all the Imperial officers that I've seen in the movies, maybe it's just because Ben Mendelsohn is like
an amazing actor,
good at acting, but like he's so good.
I also, on a personal level, since I used to work at like a solar company with a bunch of engineers, there's a lot of people that I worked with thought they were so much smarter than everybody else, and so Krennic is such a real person I know, which I love too. Is like brilliant.
It's my achievement,
but it's like they're so smart in some ways that they just completely fail in other ways.
Just a huge.
A lot
baby.
of it has to do with personal relationships, and it's like, so I like Krennic. I just don't love that like Tarkin is like brought down by having to be so petty with Krennic, whereas I just believe.
I like to think it's also why Tarkin is so successful though, is because he drills people like this. Like, that's how he took over the whatever the fuck his fucking area is called, like the
Siswena.
The Siswena.
Yes, of course.
He like was just a super huge dick to anyone who crossed him, and he just like applied that forever, and he got all the way to the top of the Death Star, and then like, what's that flashing? Blew him up, so he got popped.
The next thing is called Far Too Remote.
Yeah,
Jeffrey Brown. It is literally just a one-panel comic about General Tagg going to Dantooine.
It's like the base is made out of cardboard. The troopers look funny. It's cute. It says "Meanwhile on Dantooine."
I wrote Afro one.
No, this is it right here. Not in the audio. You didn't see this.
This is an extra.
This is not in the audiobook.
There's a story not in the audiobook.
It's not a story. It's literally just
one image right here.
Oh.
And he's just like, something tells me they are really here.
Yeah.
In canon, like in the movie, did he actually do this, or is this all just post?
I don't think the box for it was there when he got there.
No, but I'm saying like he should have been on the Death Star, but he, at least in the Vader comics and stuff, got off and did this. Is this? I'm just wondering if like, is that always what happened?
I believe canonically.
When she's like Dantooine.
I believe canonically he goes there, checks, and then at some point comes back.
He's like, yo, bro, he's not there.
Yeah, I think he comes back.
Maybe he calls him? I can't remember.
Yeah, because they find out. He's like, you lied to us.
I wrote literally a Far Side comic about the Imperials who went to check on the base on Dantooine.
That's really what it is. Yeah.
It's like even called Far Too Remote, which I thought was interesting. It's by Jeffrey Brown.
Yep. The next story is the best story in the entire thing. I'm just going to say it. It's the best story. The next story is the best one. It's called The Trigger.
This was a good one.
Kieran Gillen.
He also writes the Darth Vader comic.
There you go. It's Dr. Aphra. This is a Dr. Aphra story. 1,000% my favorite story in this entire thing. I love Dr. Aphra.
It's fun. It's
every day,
super
all day.
True to Dr. Aphra. It just tells me like Aphra doesn't like really exist for me in real like the movies, but boy is she a breath of fresh air. When I'm like just down and out on this audiobook, Aphra comes in
He's just
with
like
a joke and a smile and some laser minds.
Aphra
and I'm just
is
like, Thank you, girl. I
Afra's
needed you
the
right
Rock
now.
of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Including Afra in anything makes it automatically better for me.
I'm in
Rock. It's the
in
Rock of Star
Gravity.
Wars.
In Gravity, I'm Sandra Bullock alone up there, and she's just like ghost of
Clooney.
George Clooney coming in like, "Hey, you're gonna be okay. We're gonna make it. You're almost done with this." Actually, there's 7 more
spoilers
hours
for
in this
Gravity.
audiobook.
70 more hours in this movie.
Oh,
So
I mean,
It doesn't matter.
movie's
I
been
don't-
out for like
I
4
literally
years.
don't care about
I haven't
spoilers
free
at all.
Blu-ray.
This
also,
is
if you want to watch it. True story.
I'll check it out.
this is basically a
You not
story
seen
about
Gravity?
Afra on Dantooine, and she's trying to reactivate and upgrade droidicas, and then she goes to the old rebel base to steal everything they left behind, and the Empire shows up. And so, in the most Afra way possible, she's like, okay, I could try to take off, I could try to get out of here, I could try to fight these dudes, I could try to do all these different things, but God, if I kill Imperials, then I got to deal with all this. And it's like perfect Afra, and she's like, I'm gonna just...
It's almost a cheat that this story's in this book, actually. Like, of all these stories, this is not set anything around the movie, almost at all. Like, just a planet is the only thing that's the same between them. But, like, because of that, it's great.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. And so she lets herself be captured and goes to meet General Tag and is just like, okay, I'm not a rebel. Trust me on this. I'm not a rebel. Now I'll never be a rebel. And then he tries to figure out if she is or not and mentions the Death Star and mentions Alderaan. And the rest of this story is him trying to like scare her and her being like, yo, wait, so how'd they kill everyone on the planet? Was it bioweapon?
Yeah, his like big
so
his like
good.
big dick move was to be like, we destroyed the planet. She's like, ha, whoa, what was it? This was it that? And he's like,
Yeah. And so at the end, he's just like, you know what? I don't believe you're a rebel, but I definitely believe you're too crazy to let live.
yeah, he's like, I think the world would be better off without you,
Yeah.
which does feel like a tag move to just be like, you should die because I don't like you.
Yeah.
And so he sends one stormtrooper, which is crazy to me, to take her out into the woods and shoot her dead, which I don't think anyone ever do. I don't know why they wouldn't be like, kill her right here. But it's Afra, so hooray.
This is like the realest, a good sweet little moment she has where she's like walking and she's trying to figure out how to get out there, and she's like, maybe it's like easier to kill a planet because you don't have to look at the face. It's just like it's like an abstract concept. Whereas like for me, it sucks because you have to like look me in the face and kill me, and like I'm not trying to stop you. I want to make this easy on you because you're gonna have to live with this
Forever.
for the rest of your days. And she kind of like goes off on this thing. Meanwhile, she gets
Is
a
jamming
tool.
his blaster,
She
yeah.
like jams his blaster so that when he tries to shoot her, she takes it from him and turns it on. And
She's literally Indiana Jones. She's the best. I love her.
I wrote down while she's marching to her death, she muses on firing squads and how they work. How she, this guy probably wishes he had one because no one would know who pulled the trigger and no one would shoulder the responsibility for taking a life. She thinks the Death Star is kind of like that, and that there are a bunch of people who need to fire the Death Star so no one takes the burden of destroying a planet. And that's when at the end, when she jams the blaster, she's like, actually, no, I think there's probably just one trigger because a planet's abstract, just like a dude behind a mask. You're not a person, you're a masked thing. And like, I've killed before and I could kill you. And I was like, damn, I love Afra. She's so good.
It was
but then she's like, you know what? I'm not going to though. Like we learned a lesson here today. There's been a lot of death. Boom, I fired it. They think it's me. So later, and she
She's
like
like,
runs
"Here you
off
go."
and tosses
I'm like,
the gun.
yeah.
And then later, she like 5 minutes later, she hears sirens and shit. And she's like, "Damn it,
asshole.
Afra,
Yeah.
why'd you go soft on that guy?"
Yeah. And then she takes off, jumps into hyperspace, and you're like, gonna go find my 2 droids. Bye, haters. I was for sure thinking they were gonna show up.
The droids?
I thought that he was gonna come out there and be like, I have to kill you now.
I don't
And then
think
like
they
he was
work-
gonna get blasted in the face.
I don't think they work in
it's like-
text. Like part of the joke of them
Probably.
is that
It's their
they're
comics.
It's like sweet. Afra needs, because Afra, her character is so aggressively not a real character, but like a
Right.
cartoon character, that she needs the moments like when she was in the Sun Prison or when she's talking about how like killing faceless people is hard. She needs like a really human moment to be like, oh, she gets it.
I can't wait to read her comic.
Yeah. Afra's so one of my favorite new canon character.
For sure.
Period.
Afra and Hondo, and they are cut from pretty similar cloths.
Or the like asexual cat ninjas. I love those too.
They're dead though, so
Yeah,
it's
that sucks.
they're
Yeah, I
gone.
know. 1 year ago, cool little
live on
Afra
our
on
hearts.
Dantooine story. This is how you loop a short story into the timeline of A New Hope. Good plot-based character moments relevant to the action.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. The next story.
This is another one of the candidates for like bummer of the year right here.
Man, this story made me so like. So
I'm sure it was worse in the audio.
So let me just. So this story is called "Of MSE6 and Men," and it's by Glenn Weldon. It's about a mouse droid, basically. This is a story. Let me just like give you the setup for those of you who don't know what this story is. It's about a stormtrooper and his MSE droid, and they're just messenger droids.
Which are the mouse droids.
Yeah, they're the ones that like zip around on the floor and like right. And so it's about this stormtrooper who just is this beautiful stormtrooper who just wants to be anywhere but on the Death Star and is assigned with shipping stuff around to different sections of the Death Star. And eventually Tarkin finds this stormtrooper, is like, that's a beautiful man, falls in love.
No, so what happens is, I don't know if they really explain it, but or why it
Tarkin
happens.
gets hit in the leg.
The mouse droid goes full bore into his leg and like injures,
Almost breaks his hip.
like breaks Tarkin's hip.
Tarkin
And
falls
then-
down. I hated that. That Tarkin's like, I
and,
fell over.
And this Tarkin has like an idiot attaché who's like, "Oh, I'm gonna find that guy and I'm gonna punish him. Whatever trooper is in charge of
Right,
this
and
droid."
Tarkin sees like the troopers.
They show a picture of it and he's like,
So yeah,
"I'll take care of him."
yeah, and she's like, I'll take care of it. And then he basically sends a secret message that is deleted from the droid's memory banks to the man, and literally it's about their love affair on this station, and then he gets killed by Han.
You're like, are we gonna go deeper into it? Or are you just broad stroking it? Because
so
it's even
like here's the love. So like it's a love story, and then this dude gets killed by Han, and Tarkin's pissed off. It's this huge story.
Also,
right?
it's TK421.
right.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it is
Which
the guy
is
that comes on board.
outrageous.
They knock out and take his
Yeah.
armor. In A New
And so
Hope.
this is the story. It is like on its own. You could be like, you could make a good story and have like a, you know what? Tarkin is just living his best damn life
The
on
events
the ship.
of this story, not too bad.
Yeah, the event's not bad. It's like a fine story. Told from the perspective of the mouse droid who constantly is loading, reloading, checking. It's all in like
And the voice actor reads it all.
it's all in computer text. It is all just like boot system error, boot, and like over and over.
Whenever anything
Oh my
happens,
God.
it tells you the day and time.
You can kind of skip that. You can kind of skip that when you're like
When you're reading.
That's what I'm saying. I bet when you read it, it's not as bad because you can skip it. But in the audiobook, everything that happens has a day and time code, an action, a reaction.
Every
and
line of dialogue is like 946.
and then it's broken up by an absurd story where you're like, what am I listening to?
Right. It's like reading it, you're like, oh, this is a story about like they're basically saying that this is like Tarkin's coming out kind of.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, fine. The story in the audiobook is that story intercut with the most insane dialogue VO that's just like booting system, and you're getting, it's like the craziest way to tell the story of like, okay, yeah, Tarkin's gay. We're going to let everyone know that in this story.
Yeah, Tarkin being gay is like not.
It's perfect.
It's like almost set up even in the Tarkin book. They kind of established that he was never really interested in traditional relationships,
Right.
and he forewent like that. And you're like, great, it's perfect that you could like have that. But here,
It's
they
the
do it
way
by,
they tell the story is insane.
They have him get hit by a mouse droid, him like nursing his boo-boo, seeing a hot stormtrooper and being like, I'll handle him, sending him over, having him fix his fucking hot tub.
Oh,
Do you remember their first rendezvous is him like, I've had a long day, I'm over
No,
here,
and
fix
the
my hot
stormtrooper-
tub, and
the
then they
stormtrooper
fuck.
has to like, he's like, I know how these commanders are. I gotta butch up. And so
They,
like
they
have
say
a-
like 3 or 4 times,
Oh my
TK421's like, I gotta butch it up for him. And then he like puts on like a southern
hey there.
accent.
The
why
VO
is
is
it
insane.
TK421?
Yeah.
Like it's
Because
just,
everything has to tie in.
Why is it all connected? It doesn't make sense.
and again, it's this story that on its own you're like, all right, but it's told from the perspective of a mouse droid. Everything that's being told is like it's like memory wipes where at one scene, literally the dialogue is the mouse droid comes online, realizes his memory was been wiped, and the TK 421 is just like, you don't want to know what happened. It was
It
dirty,
got
and you're
crazy.
like, what?
yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, and it's like no matter what you think about anything, it's weird to think about between important. Like
he was, like, fucking
him and-
down, yeah.
Well, he was like interrogating Leia, or he had the scene where Tag gets choked out. In between, he came up and was like, I got a lot of energy. Fucking bring TK421
But that's
to me
like
now.
what
I gotta like
TK421
fuck.
says is he's just like, he's really busy and he just needs some release. And I'm just like, when does the man have time for this?
He's sneaking around fucking. Between
Yeah,
every
like
scene.
in,
When does he
in
have time?
between important scenes in that movie, Peter Cushing or whatever the actor like was like fucking down on like a hot 20-year-old
It's just crazy to me that this is like how they chose to tell the story and the timeline in which they chose
Wild.
to tell it. We're just like, why, of all the possible stories you could tell, like he's writing a note to his loved one back on Coruscant or something, like his like lover back home.
Another lover. Yeah.
The first thing he does when he sends the mouse droid back to TK-421 in the first place, do you remember he sends him like herbal shampoo?
Yeah.
Like that's like the first thing
Like
he
there's
sends
just
him.
Yeah, he's like, I want you to smell good when you come see
I would
me.
be like, I'm running away. I'd be like, I'm out of here. I am
Yes.
not dating Grand Moff Tarkin no matter what.
And the whole thing is he justify, and this is what I thought was crazy. TK-421's just like justifying it, like, look, I'm gonna get off this station and I'm gonna get a cussy ass job. And he's
Cushing
gonna
ass.
Cussy ass.
Cussy ass
A
job.
cushy ass.
A
Cushing
cushy-
ass.
a
Fucking
cushy
best
job.
jizz in the
I'm gonna get
biz.
that Cushing ass job, which he did.
And I can't like,
I'm gonna snatch up that pussy ass job.
I
Throw on
just,
some jizz. All right.
it was just a wild story that they chose to tell it from the perspective of a droid that doesn't. Every other droid in this anthology talks.
Yeah.
This droid is like
You
even
know,
R2.
even
Oh, but also the droid in the audiobook. This is another audiobook thing. So this is
sure.
take it you will. As things heat up, the droid gets angrier and crazier, even though it's speaking in very weird binary, which is like it's a weird way to think that it runs
yeah.
on the most basic, almost basic code that any droid does in the universe. But in its very simple
Fully-
binary, it yells
fully sentient,
It yells numbers out.
It is literally a messenger droid. It records stuff like a message like, here's your servo bits, and that's what it's supposed to do. But it is just like sentient now because it's been taken well care of by TK-421.
1 year ago, I wrote, started off by writing in quotes, iron lung in a cape, which somebody says in this
You're
story.
right. That's another one.
Which is another, just grinds my gears. The iron lung does not exist in the fucking
I-
Star Wars universe.
As I was
It barely
reading
exists
it,
in
I
this
thought about it
universe.
too. I was like, Iron Lung is like nobody would have any idea what that
It'd
is.
be like somebody
no
being
one
like-
now knows what an Iron Lung is. That is sure.
It'd be like saying like, oh, a Coke can in a robe, a Jedi.
ask a kid now what an Iron Lung is, and they have no idea.
Yeah,
it's a perk in Call of Duty. Actually, it is.
TK-421 and his mouse droid. This mouse droid dialogue just ruins all flow in the prose.
Right.
Extended convo about the lighting on the Death Star. Ended up being a kind of cute story about the real TK-421 having an illicit gay relationship with an officer, but it ends really weird because everyone involved dies, and it wusses out by putting all the gay stuff behind a memory wiping mechanic the droid has. So they can't. There's no canon.
there's
relationship.
It literally is just like, we don't want anyone to know this is happening. Wipe
Right.
all the stuff.
but it's true from
and
a
it's
certain
just
point
like,
of view.
Uh,
Next
Yeah,
story
it was
is another
rough.
one of the weirdest ones. It's called Bump. It's by Ben Acker and Ben Blacker, which is that real?
well, like, no,
The Benz.
not until I saw the actual stuff in the book was I like, wait, are
Is that real?
Ben Acker and Ben Blacker?
Are they two people?
I can't believe that's not one person with two names.
That's a weird thing.
I can't believe that. This story is about TD110, and it's literally the dude who bumps his head. This is a story about the guy who bumps his head. Like
It's
the
a- it's a-
outtake. Or,
The actor that actually hits it.
it's a story about that guy.
Does it make it better or worse for you?
It makes it.
Here's what would make this
That
whole...
didn't even actually happen in Star Wars. That's in the movie they
Yeah,
made
it's
about
in the movie, and it's just like
do you know what would
canonically he
make
bumps
this
his
whole
head.
book better? Like honestly, I would have it completely different. If before every story there was a context, they were like the author wrote like, so here's what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was like, they were like, write a story. You're not getting paid.
It's about this guy.
And they were like, and I was like, this guy bumps his head. Wouldn't that be kind of funny? I would have a completely different perspective. But instead, they don't do that. They just do weird shit. And then one of the story group guys is like, yeah, is it canon? Is it not? It's meant to be
cares?
confusing.
Yeah.
You're like,
This is-
don't do that. That matters to people. Stop being so
This
shitty.
is genuinely where all of my descriptions start becoming one line. We're like, as we get further into this, when
This
we
is
start
where
to hit
Angry
like
Jesse starts.
we started to hit like story number 25 on. It's one line, and literally all I wrote was, it's the story about the dude who bumps his head in the control room. That's all I wrote. Because I took away nothing from the story. I don't remember it other than that. I couldn't tell you what the story was about. I listened to it once and read it once. I don't remember.
I listened to it twice. And similarly, there were some of these stories where I'm like, it's so
it's
inconsequential.
so similar to the fucking
I'm-
Dubak one too.
Yeah, where you're just like, I simply must have just expelled it from my mind. I don't.
Yeah, for this one 1 year ago, I wrote, this trooper goes from really relatable and tired to completely bloodthirsty in like 2 pages, completely against everything they tell us about him. Turns out he was one of the mind trick troopers too, and that he was so distracted thinking about it that he turns out to be the trooper who accidentally hit his head in the movie, the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the next story, again, one of the stories that kind of didn't mean anything. It's called End of Watch by Adam Christopher, and it's about Pamela Powell, and I believe she is the commander of the guys who, when Han Solo's like, nothing wrong here.
She's the one who would know how it was doing on the other side of that call. How are
Yes.
you?
Right.
Yeah.
She wasn't the one who answered, but she was the one standing over the guy who answered.
Right.
And it literally is just about, it explains the Death Star is in different, there's an east quadrant and a west
This
quadrant.
one, nothing
and
even happens.
Nothing happens. It literally
This
is just.
one, I just listened to this like yesterday, and I remember the setup, and I can't remember what happened. Like I just listened to this, and I
The
can't
setup
remember what
literally
happens.
is she like reports she's like, there's a problem going on. I need to get directly to Tarkin. Everyone's like, you can't go directly to Tarkin. She's like, I need to see Tarkin because I guess there's a main control hub. And she's like, only one of the quadrants.
They also established like what 1 million people work on the Death Star or something in this book. You're like, I would get there like, you don't get to just go to the top.
Right.
Yeah.
And-
That's actually quite understandable.
Yeah, and she's like, no, I need to see Tarkin. And then she realizes there's a princess in the jail cell. And that's when it's like, everything's fine here. And then she's like, I guess Vader will handle it or something. And that's like it. This story does it. It's like a cute cut of like slice of life, but it doesn't
It
add
literally,
anything.
I wouldn't even say it's cute. It like doesn't actually add anything at all, except for some details about the Death Star.
And some CD time.
But most of those Death Star details, if you read,
The Essential Guide to Vessels.
I mean, all right, that. But I was gonna say the one about the two kids that fall in love and
but this isn't canon,
A
so it
Fault in
doesn't
Our
matter.
Star
It
Wars?
doesn't matter anyways.
yeah, A Fault in Our Star Wars. You know all that stuff where it's like I was on one side of the Death Star and I didn't even feel the battle. I think like that's kind of neat.
Yeah,
They talk about it in maybe the Neil Patrick Harris. One of the ones they're like, when it fired its fully operational thing, all you could tell is on the extremities a light hum in the
Right.
thing, and you're like, that's
Wild.
crazy.
One
my
year
God.
ago, 1 year ago, I wrote, "End of watch. Never name anything this again. It's been done. This was the most pointless story yet. Just like standard procedural Imperial stuff going on the other side of the convo Han has over the intercom in the Death Star detention board."
Yeah. All right.
Can I read the description that I wrote of this next story?
The next story.
This
The
one,
next
this
story.
one, I forgot not because it was so uneventful, because I think it was so offensive to my sensibilities
This
that my
next
mind
story
to preserve
is
me had to
insane.
eject
This one
it.
is called The Baptist. It's by Nnedi Okorafor, and it's by a character called Omi. I'm just gonna read.
You're wondering who Omi is. You know who Omi is.
I'm just gonna read what I wrote 1 year ago. Turns out the Dianoga was a Force-sensitive vessel of the Force will who baptized Luke with ego death in the trash water. Very strange idea, and
I
the
feel-
perfect example of why I don't always need to know more about the characters from the films.
I feel so bad, and they established even though this one's force sensitive, but they all have a
Omi.
language.
It's called Omi.
Omi. Well, she actually chooses her gender, and it's she. That's a whole part of this thing.
that's true.
I was killing those dudes in Dark Forces.
No,
willy-nilly.
they
and I feel
are
bad because
friends.
they all are sentient. They choose their identities and their genders,
And they use
They
the
have a
Force.
language. They understand what's going on. I'm like, wow. I thought they were just.
She
I
felt
thought
bad
they were just,
about
like,
killing
sewage
stormtroopers
monsters.
when she was on the shuttle. She killed that stormtrooper and felt bad about it. Crawled back in. So basically, literally, this is the story of the sewer monster who is taken from her home world and sees the stars for the first time and is gifted with the Force because she blows her mind. She feels the Force. And then straight up baptizes Luke.
She has
in
some of
sewer
those
water.
That's So Raven flash forwards of the Death Star blowing up.
Literally,
This story is another one that's just
pulls
like,
Luke
what?
under the water and is like, "I'm trying to help you become one with the Force. Let go, bro."
This was like on the level of
Insane.
This was like on the level of the Battlefront 2 book where the like rock people come and like take the bodies
yes,
away.
at the end.
My mouth, I'm just like, what? Like what the fuck? What?
This is the most insane
This
far out there
story-
story.
here's the thing.
There's a point where she's like where Omi's like, is he my like mate? Not like sex mate. That's weird. But like, are we meant to travel the stars together? Is like a literal thing that this is said in this thing.
It is.
That's what was going
the
on under
only
that water.
reason this
She like
exists.
knew when she first saw Leia that she was the most dangerous of all of them.
The only reason this exists is to explain why Luke popped back out of the water and wasn't killed. That's the only reason why this story exists. To explain that one moment.
But the real answer is just that the walls moved, so it ran away.
Yeah. And what's crazy about this whole thing
In the movie, it's used. You're right, as a like, something worse is coming.
Right.
It's not a hole. It's explained.
It just ran away because it was like,
This
I
room
gotta get
is
out of
about
here.
to be this room.
Yeah. And so at the end, she literally becomes one with the Force, and as the Death Star explodes, is like, I wonder what I'll become in my next life. The end. And it's like, shut up!
I am
Shut
the
up.
Bento.
That's another like
Play
weird.
Doctor Who.
They do a couple of these where their last sentence changes the like.
You're like,
asks a big
what?
question where you're like, wait, are you trying to say that there's also reincarnation in this unit? No, you don't. That's the last sentence.
Next story.
Shut
Time-
up all the detention authority.
I want to let you know that the entire time reading this and listening to it, I was like, why is this story called The Baptist? What does that mean? And when it happened, I was like, I can't do this
What's the
anymore.
song from Bioshock Infinite? Oh, yeah. Like right at the end when you get baptized. Next story, Time of Death by Cavan Scott. It's an Obi-Wan story where he time jumps and like just kind of thinks about his life.
Yeah, this was Kenobi's story where he fights Vader, and as he dies and becomes one with the Force, it literally is just him going through his life, taking care of Luke.
And it flashed back to, I think it was one of the one shots from the comics.
Yeah.
We saw that moment. This felt like a spiritual sequel to the Obi-Wan Qui-Gon.
It was like a less good version.
I think there's a trilogy. There's a hidden trilogy in here where it's Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, this story,
And the
then
Yoda
the
one.
next the Yoda one.
I legit love these ones. These ones are great.
This one was good. I think they kept saying, I don't remember what the words are. They keep saying the same words over and over again where he's
Saber,
like,
clash, scream. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
and
it's
it's
like
just-
the
but it
moment of
keeps-
his death. It's like what happens all
That
at
but
once.
it
part
keeps
is
happening
extra.
over and over and over again. I'm
Ooh,
just
and
like,
the audiobook
oh,
is
okay.
super extra. But
Yeah.
the rest of it's like cool. It's just flashing forward through time.
And his
back
moral
in-
is like, he thinks all the stuff he's witnessing is like a hell for him because he's seeing all these things in his life. But he realizes at the end, like, I'm always going to be there for Luke. Like, all these things I'm seeing are the times I've been there for this kid, and that's not going to stop. And that's like kind of what it's showing me.
Yeah, I believe because it starts with him. It flashes back to him with Anakin,
Right.
And they're fighting with sticks instead of lightsabers. And Anakin is like, oh, "Why can't we use things?" And he's like, "It's okay. We have all the time in the world." Is what he says to Anakin. And it flashes forward when he finally realizes that he hasn't failed Luke, and instead he will have forever. He's like, "It's okay.
I'm the best."
We have all the time we need."
Yeah.
And you're like,
It's
"Oh,
cool. It's a cool little story. Yeah. The only part that annoyed me is they kept using that same like clash, smash,
Saber screams." Yeah, all that stuff.
smack it, bop it, twist it. Yeah.
Pull it. Pull it. Pull it. 1 year ago, I wrote kind of neat time jumping story about Obi-Wan making sacrifices and what drives him after the prequels. But mostly, I'm pretty sure this guy heard my movie pitches.
This is. It's also this is just they do good Jedi shit in these ones. Like where they're like death isn't that important, but like, figuring it out, being one with the Force. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like it.
The next story is about Yoda. It's called There Is Another, Gary Schmidt. I like this story a lot.
This one's cool.
Except for one part where I was like, the
bit about Leia?
No, I was just mad about the droids.
When a probe droid gets destroyed on Hoth, they send the Empire.
everyone, yeah.
When 3 probe droids die on Dagobah,
No one's
nobody
sent there.
shows up. That's just as like
I thought that was a
lazy-
weird, but so the whole story is literally Yoda in the highlands preparing to go to the lowlands because the wet season has ended and he's going to go move into the place where Luke finds him.
Yep.
And he has to take his seeds down there and it's just Yoda being alone.
Being an old man, yeah.
It's like
like
it's
alone
like
and sad.
Slice of life, great. It's him thinking about like can't wait to train because it's called what's it called?
There's another.
There's another.
There's
He's-
another, and he's,
he's
like,
waiting for Leia.
boy, I can't wait for Leia to show up. Like she's the one.
Yeah.
I can't wait to train her, and it's like a sweet little.
And then the droids show up and destroy. He has Qui-Gon's cloak that he sleeps in, which I didn't know that. Not that that was cute.
That's
That's,
kinda
what he
cute.
has.
Kind of fucking weird, though, right?
Qui-Gon was like his guy.
Would you sleep in my clothes for any reason?
Well, I mean, if we were
it-
like monks,
I will tell you
space
that it-
monks,
I
maybe.
guess.
That it confused me because I'm like, but what about letting go? And then it comes full
Yeah,
circle at the
yeah.
end of this, and he also has Obi-Wan's mug. Or
He has like a bowl, and the bowl
It's
gets
weird, like,
destroyed
you have
by
a bunch of bowls. Why is this one bowl?
yeah. The bowl gets destroyed by a droid, and then Yoda goes into his little hovel that's soaking wet from the rainy season, and he tries to heat it up, and then he's just there for a few days, and then Obi-Wan shows up in his like Force form.
Because he feels the death.
Yeah. And he's like, I can't believe Obi-Wan's dead. This sucks. And Obi-Wan shows up and is like, I'm not dead, master. And they have like a conversation where he just is like, look, Luke is coming to you. It's not Leia. Luke is the one. And
Get over it, you
Yeah, and
sassy
he-
man.
You sick
And he's
bitch.
like, he sucks though.
Yoda's like,
Mine's not as good as
Yeah.
Alex's, but
Sucky his or whatever.
He's just like,
I
sucks,
just
man.
moved all my seeds.
He's gonna eat everything. He's gonna sweat. He's a boy. He stinks.
Obi-Wan, when he shows up, I'm gonna beat the shit out of his droid. I'm gonna eat all his food, and I'm gonna act crazy.
I'm gonna
Fuck
take
him.
I'm gonna take one bite of everything because I know he's a germaphobe. He won't eat anything.
And so
I
straight
got
up,
this from Galaxy's Edge.
none of you were doing a Yoda voice. Not even like,
And then I said to this guy, I want a refund. Give it to me right
Sorry,
now.
Galaxy's
great.
Edge I got this from.
still terrible.
Refund or not, there is no
Ronto
buy.
roast is a friggin' hot dog and a pita.
So they
it's what it is.
the
You'll see when we go in a couple days. They cook it on a pod racer engine.
I
It's crazy.
can't wait.
The cup thing. I like this. The cup thing where he uses a cup to kill the droids. I know they were doing like a Miyagi or like a
Sure.
Actually, it was kind of like, was it Riddick where he like breaks his cup and then kills people with it? It was like that, but for some reason, even though he wasn't flipping in lightsabers, it felt weird to me. I
well,
don't
they even said in this story, he has a moment where he's like, I would like always take my cane and go see the younglings, and then Willy Wonka's them. Willy Wonka canes them where he walks in, he's like, I can barely move, I can. And then
Yeah.
he like rolls and flips around, and he's like, okay. And then he gets his cane and then slowly hobbles away, and the
You're
kids
right.
are just like,
They talked
what
about
is that?
That was in the beginning of this, and it almost lost me. I was like, "Ooh, don't rationalize his flips," and then it got me with like just a decent little character
Yeah.
thing.
1 year ago. Pretty cool little Yoda story about him feeling Obi-Wan's death and briefly talking to his Force ghost. Interesting that Leia was Yoda's first choice of pupil. Again, the less stuff that directly intertwines with the plot, the better.
Yeah, and I think this one was good because it showed Obi-Wan go to Yoda and be like, my dude, the Force is like magical, man. I know you know that, so chill out, bro.
The best ones are like scenes
You're
that would
like,
be
yeah.
added. It's the best stories, are the ones that are scenes that would be added to the movie if all the other stuff existed.
This is definitely like in between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. This is
and
where that
you're-
would be.
This is a trilogy. This is actually like the third part of Obi-Wan's arc because in the
In
beginning,
this book,
it's
yeah.
him old and wise, but like talking to Qui-Gon and like being unsure about it.
Yeah.
Then it's him getting it on his own, and then now he's like, "Come on, dude, Yoda."
It's wild.
No.
It's wild.
And Yoda's thing in this is and Qui-Gon says to Obi-Wan, you have to be calm and at peace with yourself and understand. And Obi-Wan's like, yo, I am. Like, I get it now. And then at this point, Yoda's kind of messed up in the head about all the stuff he failed to do. And he misses his friends and he misses the past. And then even in like he can't let go. He's like, I'm old as shit and I'm stuck here waiting for Leia to show up. Like, and I thought that was pretty neat that Obi-Wan was like, Luke's coming, dude, and that's who you're supposed to train. Let Leia go.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. And he's like, I don't want to. And he's like, my dude, it's
gonna
okay.
be fine. Yeah.
Well, and then he's like, "You're right. I'll let go." And then Obi-Wan's like, "Yeah, where's my bowl, by the way?"
Yeah, he's like, what about my
and he's like, "It's a shitty bowl, anyways."
Next is another one of the best stories in the book.
No.
It's called Palpatine. It's by Ian Dosher. Just kidding. It's not one
Oh
of the best stories
no,
in the
this
book.
is the worst one.
Can I read my my 1 year ago first?
Please, I'm going to read my one-line sentence.
Shitty Shakespearean soliloquy by the Emperor in iambic pentameter, cringy rhymes that barely make sense. Here's a quote. When his lightsaber struck Kenobi's robe, the Jedi's body vanished from the globe.
All I wrote for this was, fuck this. That's all I wrote.
I said it was kind of cute, I guess, in a dumb way.
No.
I've teased this multiple episodes that it's honestly like the friggin' opening to Haunted Mansion, and it's just the Emperor, and it's so bad.
It's basically a commercial for that dude.
Oh,
Ian
because he
Dosher.
wrote all of the Star Wars Shakespeare books.
all the even Jedi the Last, which came out last year. Like he's still doing it.
I just want to point out, like,
I will never read them now. I don't need to.
as
No need.
I read this, like Reddit, it's one of the things where you can read through it and like kind of skim through and just, it's a poem, so you can read it in your own way. The audio version is literally a dude doing Palpatine being like, I struck him from the globe. And you're like, shut up.
Like
Shut up.
God,
It's like,
hey, how you
it's like local
doing?
theater. Someone who's just like,
Oh,
really swinging for
it's
the-
so
It's like-
painful.
you guys watch Barry?
Yes.
One of them would have done this.
It's literally like that's what I was gonna say. It's like something you'd turn in for like high school English.
Oh, boy. I did not
Or
like that.
middle school English. It's wild.
Yeah, and the next stories are all just about Yavin. We finally
This
are
is
wrapping
where we
it up.
get in the fucking Yavin hole of like the pilots for like 150 years of reading. I was like, I know everything that happens in this
They
fucking
retelled the same event time and time again.
dialogue from the movie in multiple stories.
So
Sparks by Paul S. Kemp.
yeah, this is about Dex, one of the Y-wing pilots who dies on the Death Star run.
He just gets fucking roasted.
Yeah,
hard.
the story is about his droid Sparks, who's like, I'm a Sparky droid, and it's about him and how he's going up there, and they kind of everyone shit talks Luke for a little bit, and then he gets blown up, and that's like it literally ends with Sparks being killed.
Sparks doubly.
Yeah,
Because
droid's
his
name is
mother
Spark.
always said, "Small sparks start the
that
biggest
made me
fires."
so mad. When that line came up, and I was like, they're literally it's just Last Jedi quotes. No,
It's the line from The Last Jedi just changed slightly.
Like a little different, but it's like the whole time he thought he was going to be like the Luke Skywalker.
Right.
But then in the end, it's called Sparks because he rubs up against the side and turns into sparks and dies.
like literally his droid explodes and he dies, and it's literally like the last thing he felt was pressure, fire, and explosion, or whatever it is, and then he dies, and that's like, oh, okay, well, great, now we know.
1 year ago, I wrote, before that I quoted, dropping a torpedo down the bunghole of that Imperial station.
That is a line from this.
Line from that.
Yep.
Just a Y-Wing pilot getting roasted at the Battle of Yavin. Cool, whatever, is what I wrote. I was pretty mad by this point.
The next story,
Duty roster.
I kind of enjoyed. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, all right, if only for the moral.
Is
But
this the fake wedge one?
Yeah.
What a weird.
I just thought it was like a strange story. So Duty Roster by Jason Fry, and it's about Cole Tackbright
This was definitely the best one of these.
of this like arc. Yeah.
Of the fucking pilot marathon that happens at the end of this.
So
yeah.
basically, it's about a guy Cole who looks a lot like Wedge, and everyone calls him Fake Wedge, and it just pisses him
It's
off.
like, Jesus.
Luke Skywalker shows up and essentially, in his mind, takes his spot to go fight the Death Star, and he's furious. And he's in like the pilot's ready room and trashes it and gets like super upset. And Wedge comes back. He's like, "Oh, forgot my helmet." And he goes over to him and he's like, "My dude, what are you doing?" And just like gives him a pep talk. And he's like, "This is like bigger than both of us. Like, I got to go up there. I know you would like root me. Like, you know, if I was down here, I'd cheer for you too. This is about more than us." And so then it's literally him just listening to the battle. And when
Damn.
it's done, he hears about how Luke destroys the Death Star, about how Wedge flies off and lives. At the end, as everyone's celebrating, he and Wedge have a talk, and Wedge is like, "I feel terrible because I couldn't stay in the battle, and I couldn't help with the fight, and I just feel awful about it." And Cole's like, "Dude, you're a hero." And Wedge is like, "Man, I hope others see it that way." And Cole's like, "If they don't, just tell them it was fake Wedge up there." And he's like, "I'd be honored to be mistaken as you. Like, you're an amazing guy." And that's literally what the story was. I was like, "That's a good story." I have all the ones that we hear.
It was good.
I was like, I like that. I think the at the end, the rebels being like, you know, I'd be honored to be Wedge. I thought that was neat.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I wrote 1 year ago, don't call him Piggy. That dude did look like Wedge, though. Very successful at making me anxious. Pretty tight little story.
Yeah.
That dude wrote a shitload of Star Wars stuff. Jason Fry, if you like know that name, he's written like essential guides. He's in the magazines. He's all over it.
I felt like that story had like a little substance to it. I think the
And
conceit
it adds like it explains that his X-wing like was a little faulty.
It
Which
also
is why he had to like bounce.
Not
I think what it does explain too. I think most of these stories, sadly, are explainers for why in the one scene where it's everyone standing around the command center, there's like a few dudes in pilot suits. I think this is all this is for, to explain why those guys are there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just like, oh well, they didn't have enough planes, or I guess starfighters.
Which like fits. You're like a plucky rebellion,
Yeah.
and you weren't expecting to get like crapped on by the Death Star.
Yeah. The next story, Desert Sun, Pierce Brown. It's about Biggs, and it
It
literally
literally is the deleted scene from Star Wars.
Yeah, that's
word for
all
word
it is.
almost. Yeah.
It's Biggs' POV, the deleted scene, and then how he sees the trench run go down, and it's then he dies. That's like it.
This is probably one of the most savage things I wrote. The inevitable Biggs deleted scene story. More Porkins fat jokes? And why is this story completely encapsulated and totally contradicted by the previous one?
Yes.
Unnecessary. Makes for like boring reading. This thing's basically just writing the movie out at this point. Biggs dies.
They make Biggs seem like a cool older brother, but then every single sentence about Porkins
He's just like
uses
shitting on
fat
Porkins.
imagery.
Damn,
You're just
dude.
like he grabbed me in his like fat hands and
His
you're just
haunches.
like just chill. Like all right,
The man's
what's up?
already named Porkins. His last name is fucking Porkins.
Yeah, just like chill.
And so this is where I began to start writing notes. Like, none of this is in any way related to anything else. All of these stories, although about different characters, all tell a different version of the story. How many pilots went up? What pilots went up? It's different every time.
Jesse, it depends on your point of view.
Get out of town.
Yeah,
Get out of town.
wasn't the guy that sat out before listed in the
Yes.
In the next story, Grounded, he's listed, Cole is listed as being up there. So the next story, Grounded by Greg Rucka, is Nara Case. The story is essentially just about how she's on the ground and how she is listening to all the events like we've heard in all the other stories, except it kind of explains what their job is and how she lost people on Scarif, and she has to write down all the people who died and why they died. Like, she needs to know this information so she can be better in the future to keep these pilots alive.
and how like the crew is just as much a part of it
Right.
as anything else, and they feel the death as like when someone doesn't come back, it's like a hard.
This is
thing
the one
to
where
do.
they're like listening to the radio, right?
Yeah, and they're all
she's
sitting
like
around.
she's like keeping tallies of like dead
Everyone who dies, and she's like
Black,
listing off names.
mechanical.
Yeah.
Who I
Ty,
don't remember.
Ty.
I don't remember who it is.
Porkins is like a mechanical failure, and so they like talk about this. He was using somebody else's X-wing,
Right.
and the guy was like,
Hey, the guy was like,
complained
I'm
that
not
it was-
going up
it
there.
was busted, but then
Yeah.
was like, no, it's fixed. And then the guy like heard that he died. He was like broken because it was like
Right.
There's something in my notes about the Firmists and their relationship to the Force, and I don't know what that's a reference to.
The Firmus?
Yeah, I said like, who are the Firmists and what is their relationship to the Force? I'm gonna see if I can like. Oh, this is the wrong
What?
story. Her parents raised her in the Firmist tradition of the Force. They were
Oh, as-
spacers. They're like
As in, like she is religious, but she's not a Force user.
it's a Force-based religious organization. There's a Firmist god who's on Jeddah.
Yeah, like literally, they are the same thing that Shrute and like they're part of that sort of religious. We aren't Force users, but we believe in the Force.
They were invented by Ben Acker and Ben Blacker, who are real. For
Apparently.
for one of those like young adult
Ben
comics.
Blacker and Ben Acker just sound like how this story confuses names. It's like they
wild.
couldn't remember who wrote that story.
It's
So like,
wild.
yeah, either Ben Acker or Ben Blacker.
Figure and Dan.
And
Figure
so
and Don.
in
Figure it out.
this story, it straight up is just like going through all the people who die, and because they do that, they mention the dude from the previous story who was grounded is flying.
Yeah, that's where I was like, say what?
Yeah, I was just like, all right, none of this matters anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't make any fucking
It
sense.
doesn't matter,
That's
yeah.
not like a little detail that like colors in like a cool like thing that is like, oh, it's like an inconsistency, so it means they felt differently about
No,
it. It's like,
it's
no,
just-
one dude is in the fucking air in this story and one dude's on the ground in this story.
Yeah, it's
Wild.
So, and then at the end, the basic plot is that they win, obviously, and while everyone celebrates, she goes into a bunk and just cries and weeps because it was like all
Rough.
too much.
Yeah.
And that's how it ends.
1 year ago. Ooh, what are the Firmists and their relationship to the Force? Again, inconsistencies with both other stories with regard to rank, how squadrons work, and how many ships are in the sky. Just another retelling of this battle. They're all just listening to the radio and thinking. They even say the same lines. I just read the same story 3 times.
Yes, absolutely. The next one I thought was actually fascinating.
This was like a great, like, this is about Mon Mothma. It's called Contingency Plan by Alexander Freed. Mon Mothma and Tarkin, to me, get like pretty bopped by like the new canon.
Sure.
Like, not in terms of like they're less interesting characters, but just what you thought they were. It's weird because they're characters that are very established in the movies who like totally are recontextualized in the expanded universe with the new stuff. Like Tarkin is kind of like fated to lose now.
Right.
You know, like he kind of has this like flaw that's going to kill him now. And Mon Mothma, same exact thing. She's like, now that you know what happens in the like 30 years ahead universe, like she's sort of framed as like a leader who like is kind of weak on issues where she needs to be strong. You know what I mean? And while it seems like she's a good leader in the rebellion, and she is, she's like kind of like Winston Churchill in that respect, where she's like a great rallier of troops.
But she's not an act. Like, she isn't someone who acts and does stuff.
Right, she's like no army, like no anything, and she's like piecing out of this fucking fight. Like,
Yeah. So, she just says goodbye. Who's the guy she talks to? Oh my.
Donna?
Yeah, General Donna. She is like, look, I'm gonna go, and he and all the command staff know that the reason she's leaving is because she's gonna have to either start the rebellion over if they all die, or surrender or come up with. She has contingency plans. Like their plan is to get her off the planet so she can keep the rebellion going. But in reality, she has a notepad.
She has no faith in herself.
Yeah, she has a notepad that's literally just like, okay, this is me going to go surrender to the Emperor. This is me. Basically, she plays out different scenarios in her head. Like, what if I surrender? What will he keep me alive?
She's
Will I
like
be a
writing,
prop?
She's like writing speeches, basically.
Yeah, and she's like, okay, if I start over, where do I start over from? And if I don't have to start over, it's fascinating, but also you're kind of like, boy, she is not as strong of a character as they made her out to be when you're like, you see her in Return of the Jedi, you're like, oh, damn, you know she's in charge.
She's got this. Yeah. She's basically just like flying away from the from the planet in a ship, and then it's like the radio person is like, ah, and she's like, what? And then she's like, we're fine. We're gonna go back. It's good. We
Laugh. They start laughing, and like her attaché and the pilot are just like, yeah, they're so happy. And she's like, oh, we're fine. Everything's good. The one thing that I thought was going to happen, and I was waiting for this.
throw the speech in the trash.
No, I thought when she was like, yeah, we're going to board this ship. She's like, this ragtag ship, we're going to get on board. I honestly thought it was going to be the Rebels team.
Oh yeah, the ghost.
I thought it was going to be Ghost. I thought it was going to be General Syndulla.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be like her and Chopper. And I was just like, oh, of course. This
Like,
was-
where were you running to, bitch?
I honestly thought that's what it was going to be, and it was not.
You got somewhere to be?
Because
Who you writing that letter to,
canonically-
bitch?
Canonically, they're in Rogue One.
It's true.
And they're one of the ships that gets away.
They get paged. Yeah.
So where?
Spoiler.
So if they're one of the ships, they're in that battle scene. If they're one of the ships that gets away and they're not at Yavin, I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. This is how they leave.
Yep.
Nope, not included.
1 year ago today, I wrote, not today. I don't know why I said 1 year ago today. It was not that. I wrote in quotes, a tin cup of steaming calf. Very cool stuff. Tin. Mon Mothma was going to give up in the wake of a rebel defeat. Does Mon Mothma kind of suck? Is this like foreshadowing of how soft she was in the First Order? Pretty cool little character piece, though.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
I think like the way it was written was great.
Yeah. Okay. This is another one of my favorite stories in the book.
This,
right here.
you know what? That's because it's Lando, and Lando's just the
He
best.
also wrote, Charles Sewell wrote the angle of this story, but he also wrote the two Lando shorts that are in Marvel Comics, our favorite thing.
yeah.
Oh, awesome.
This starts out with Lando playing a game called Click Clack, which is just
I'm just going to imagine it's the game Clack that I know about.
What is Clack?
Or Clacks, the arcade game or whatever it is.
no. This is literally Click Clack is essentially you have one card and you try to.
It's like not even a gambling game. It's like a fucking like drawdown game with cards. It's
Is this
wild.
like a drinking game where you're like, we're just trying to have a
lower or
reason-
higher, basically, kind of game?
Yeah, but you're trying to,
What,
to
war?
talk the other person into figuring out like what they have. And I like the way because I was trying to figure out like this seems kind of dumb, but the way they said it, which I loved, was like if you call it correctly, you win. But if you both call the same thing, like if you both win or you both lose, it's a draw, and the house takes 10% no matter what. And I was like, I get this. I know why Lando plays this stuff now. Like I get this.
Yeah,
This game
yeah.
makes sense to me.
Yep. And he basically just sees the Falcon blow up the Death Star, and you get to see.
Oh yeah, because the Imperials come and break up the card game.
He's like watching it on the TV, and he's
Yeah,
like, oh,
Lobot's
shit.
just like, have you seen this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to read what I wrote. Yay! An actual unfamiliar turn of events. Lando sees the Falcon help blow up the Death Star, and we get a cool new gambling game. And pre-accident Lobot. Whee!
Yeah. And Lobot comes in and is like, have you seen what's on the Holo News? And he's just, and Lando's like, no, what's going on? Why? He's like, this is why the Imperials came in and busted up our game. They're trying to like show force. And it literally is just Lando watching Han in his ship fight the Empire, and he can't figure out why. And I love that character moment where he's like, wait, why is he doing this? Like, what does he get out of this? Wait, why is Han doing this? I thought that was amazing. I love that about Lando. It's like, I don't even, like, why would this guy do all that? It's crazy. I wouldn't do it.
Okay, so you also have a bad Lando.
Everyone has a bad Lando, baby.
What's on my
You old
card?
smoothie.
Yo,
Just a little higher.
You know what I always say? Keep your friends close and keep your droids stupid.
Yeah, it was a
Keep
fine
your
story.
droid in the guts of the
Do
Millennium
that
Falcon.
thing with your droid.
Keep your friends close and keep your droid in the Millennium Falcon's walls.
The next story is called By Whatever Sun. It's by E.K. Johnston and Ashley Eckstein. And it's about Miara Larte, and literally is just a girl reflecting on the story of her life as the closing ceremony of the movie.
No, like
happens.
one where Chewbacca doesn't get the medal.
Right, where Chewie gets screwed, and she talks about Alderaan and her sister, and how her sister's on a medical
Only
frigate.
2 show up. We ordered 3, only 2 show up.
He's
I don't
like,
know. I'm sorry.
when he roars at the end, he's like, I didn't get a medal. Somebody tell someone. Why aren't you reacting?
Stop clapping!
Don't just gloss over this.
Cheering.
Yeah.
So
You seen the Aeronauts video where they cut out the audio and it's like, ah! It's like a human scream every time.
There's a great Jurassic Park where all the dinosaurs, they replace the roars with people saying, hey, hi. It's so funny.
So it's just her story about how she was on Alderaan. She got her family was killed, and she and her sister were adopted to Alderaan, and they look up to Leia, and watching this whole event take place. It literally is just like a closing, like, hey, we made it through to this point. I'm sure they died on an Empire on Hoth,
It's
like everyone
this,
else. But
It's
whatever.
like this ceremony is not just a winning ceremony for everybody. It's also kind of like a funeral for Alderaan's.
Yeah.
Like the Alderaan vibe is down.
And she's happy that her sister lived, and how there actually is. They mention that there is the rebel fleet out there somewhere. There's what's left of it still out there, and it's gonna, things are looking up, and she's ready to fight. And that's kind of the gist. It's like, I'm ready for the next anthology, is what it's about.
I wrote, cool bit of background into what kind of stuff Alderaan did, and it leverages that to add some more emotion to the final awards ceremony scene. Very fine. And that's it. That's the last story in the book.
Yeah. There's
That's it.
not another one.
There's no more stories
Tom
after that.
Engelberger did not write a story.
Unfortunately, he was not able to contribute his piece.
Yeah, it's so sad.
To the story.
The last story, number 40. The last story is
From
called...
the creator of the Origami Yoda book.
The last story is called Wills. And the story is literally the dude writing the opening scroll to Star Wars, and then his friend...
They're Wills.
Yeah, they're like the actual chroniclers of the Wills.
The main Will and his friend, Will Wheaton.
And so main Will is just like writing the story. It's like a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And his friend immediately cuts in and is like, actually, it should be a long, long time in a galaxy far away. And that is the gist of the entire thing.
Like every line is like, wait a minute.
Hold on. That's not, you're going to skip over. And he literally is just like, wait a minute. You're not going to say anything from the prequels? And he's like, yeah, I figured I'd start with 4. And he's like, I figured I'd start here at Yavin. He's like, no, you better put a 4 there then, so people know there's stuff before, like that kind of thing. And it's just, I get what they were doing, utterly, completely unnecessary.
It was, oh my God. I wrote 1
Unnecessary.
year ago, I wrote, the worst for last. Absolutely hate the tone of this, but for what it's worth, read another way, it's a good roast of how Star Wars fans always think they can write better stories than the people who actually do. I, too, am guilty of this. Thank God this is done.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole.
May God have mercy on our souls.
The whole conceit of the last story is that it's just like, we're gonna poke fun at everyone thinking they can do better than us.
Yeah.
And I get it, but again, not the last thing you want to like send off
On the charity Star Wars Episode 4
yes,
book.
like
Yeah.
just insane,
Dude, it is so. Do yourself a favor. If you buy this book, do it just to read the story so that you can at least understand. Well, I mean, look, it goes to a
Well, it
great
goes to
cause.
charity.
It goes to a great cause, so you should buy this book anyway. You don't need to read the rest of it. You can read the Cluehorn story. You can read the Afra story. You can read the Lando story. You can
I would
read...
do the Obi-Wan trilogy.
Yeah, there's a couple in there that are good. This one you should read very first so that you can understand just what our thoughts are on this. Because right now in the timeline on the official Wikipedia, it places this story post Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, which means it's on the timeline. This happened.
No, this story, as said by
Wait.
George Lucas.
It's real?
No, this
It's canon.
This story, as said by George Lucas, guys, Lucas said R2-D2 100 years after the original trilogy goes to the Wills and gives them all of his information. Everything that he has seen, he recounts all 9 movies to the Wills, who then they write for us.
And I don't know if you remember this. At the end, he's like, you know what? If you fucking want to write your own fucking story, why don't you
write
go
your
do
own.
it? And he's like, you know what? Maybe I will. Maybe I'll write a story about Chewbacca and how his family celebrates Life Day. How about that? And you're like, you're like, no!
Stop.
Don't
Yeah.
put the Star Wars Holiday Special in this.
It's canonical, baby. And so, yeah, that is how it ends. It ends with sort of a slap to the face. And I was just
It's like, gotcha, bitch.
yeah, I don't know. I was not into it, but
It was a bummer. It was a bumtown.
yeah,
bummer.
and that is literally why we stopped doing this for a year.
I cannot believe how bad
We
this
kept
book
putting
is.
off reviewing this for literally a year because we didn't want to have to talk about it.
It like things looked up a little bit, at least for me, in
You
the
were
solo.
coming off
We
a
were like-
solo really high. You
But
were
like I was
feeling
like,
it.
well, I've been humbled because like you were talking about, and we talked about back then, I had like that Final Fantasy syndrome where like I thought I knew exactly what Star Wars was,
Yeah.
and I was like rediscovering that it's okay that there's other interpretations of Star Wars, but this was just.
This was like the monkey's paw version of that.
I
Like,
can't
we-
like I was like,
got wrecked.
they did not take the temperature of the Star Wars universe. Although the reviews for it are good. So
Yeah, we looked up online. People love this book.
The
And I-
reviews for all the books are good. So
if
I have no
I
idea.
had known
and
ahead
all
of
the
time
shows.
it was a charity book, and I really, if there was like commentary from all the authors on each one, being like, "Hey, I was told to have fun with it," so I thought, here, let's just do a story about that. Like that would have made this a lot more palatable.
I just
But,
thought, like,
but
what if
as it was
Boba Fett was
presented,
John Hamm?
as it was presented, they just had contradictions. They had all these things, and I was like, what am I supposed to? What is a Star Wars fan supposed to do with this?
Right.
Right.
I think what they're saying is you shouldn't take it seriously, but the fact that you can go online and then be like, this is canonical.
Yeah,
How can you not take it seriously then?
it's rough.
Like if they're
You
saying
told
it's
us
canonical,
to take everything you do seriously now. You said from now on, this is serious.
yeah, like Chewie does not get crushed by a moon. That doesn't happen. I honestly would rather have a short story where like Chewie is crushed by a moon than like sit through, I don't know, being the Emperor doing poetry. Just unreal. Here's the thing. I can imagine the Emperor would think that he could do poetry. I imagine.
I bet you he has poetry.
Yeah, I imagine when he goes to the
Ribbon.
weird ballet thing.
at prose once.
I imagine that's probably true. Did any of us need to see
He
it?
just watches
No.
like a big 3D version of the goldfish from Fantasia.
The Emperor also probably has some bad sushi every now and then. Has a hot shit. We don't need to see that either.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff we don't need to see. Oh boy! All right,
I feel like you guys
force
both-
it out. Here we go.
Use the falls. I think you guys.
that's the
I think by reading this, you guys each took like one step closer to where my head is at about how good Star Wars should be, like how good the literature should be. You guys are both like, not everything. Let's do some bookkeeping, some
Yes.
some housework, some chores.
So
Well,
no matter
a
what,
big thing is in the next 3 days of our time. This
Yeah.
will probably come out after we've gone. We're going to Galaxy's Edge. We're in a couple days.
yeah, we're going to
We're gonna
Galaxy's
go.
Edge,
I'm
so
and
jacked for
and
that.
we'll record an episode about it.
100% we should do an episode.
We'll
Post
do a hot.
that.
Yeah, we'll do a hot episode. It'll only be 2 hours and a half long.
Every time we're like, no, this one should be like minimum.
Tonight we came in
or
like we
maximum,
got nothing to say.
Yeah, we'll be like
Here we
40
are.
minutes, and it's like however long.
We have a schedule that we're going to try and follow as best we can. We did Rebel Season 2.
Yes.
You got that in your
already
in
out.
your,
They
in
have
your
it.
ear holes.
They're good.
Certain point of view, you're listening to that right now.
Ooh.
Ear holes. Up next, we got Rebel Season 3 because we're going to try and catch up to the TV show so that we can like be on it for the Mandalorian when it drops. So we're doing the TV shows kind of quick. So Rebel Season 3 is very up next. And then slated right now, we have that brand new Dooku book. But what I'm hearing
We
is
have to
that
do the other one
maybe we
first.
should flip-flop those. So up next after Rebel Season 3 is going to be
Master
and Apprentice.
Sure.
So that's
God,
where we're at right now.
I bought
so
that on audiobook like 2 years ago. And
I
it's just
have
been sitting there.
pre-orders on my phone for like the next 2 years of Star Wars.
I basically have snooched every book.
Yeah.
that-
we
Every
made
single one.
a big ass list, and actually we did. This right here. This is a list of stuff we've already done. Right? Like,
Yeah, man.
Look, we did a
We've
lot.
been through a lot. Yeah.
We did a lot.
Prolific?
So
Is that how you describe
we're
it?
prolific. That's what you say about a podcast that just didn't put out an episode for 400 days and then did.
Look, what's his face? The actor that's playing Thor is taking a year off.
He's
Everyone does it.
quite fine compared to us in where he's at in his career. But just for you guys next time, Rebel Season 3, Master and Apprentice, and if you feel like it, if you're already there, why don't you start on Season 4 of Rebels too? Because we're going to get right through all of that soon.
Y'all are about to season 3 and 4 Rebels.
Season 3,
I-
real good. Season 3,
Season 3,
spoiler.
I'm excited. I'm going to cruise through that because it was.
I had an incredible time.
I had to stop a lot trying to re-listen to. It's like a 15-hour podcast. This last book that I had to re-listen to at a certain point of view, but I had to stop and it was like, oh,
Rebels
so-
Season 3, I enjoyed myself. Get ready,
Season
guys.
3 is
I
so
enjoyed
good.
myself.
It's so good.
I'm definitely not going to just like become a blind follower of Rebels, but
No, it doesn't deserve that. But look, you put Thrawn and stuff.